Okay, can you hear us over there, Bill?
I'm not sure. Are the mics? We're on.
We on? Okay, we on. All right, thank you. At this point, I accept the motion, Mike, for the approval of the minutes in the administrative conference on Monday, June 9th,
Second.
2014. City Council meeting Tuesday, June 10th, 2014 has been moved by Councilman Mike Carvin, second by Councilman Sam Jenkins. Any questions or discussion at this point? If not, all in favor vote yes, opposed is nay, and it passes with a 7-0 vote. I'm sorry. Yeah, I used to could chew gum and walk at the same time, but I can't do two things now at once. I've gotten to an age, Dale, where I do well to do one thing good. Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Glad to see you made it back.
Well, good to be back, Mr. Chairman.
And I was hoping you had brought me a bowl of fruit or some candy, ice cream, or something back to let me know you still love me.
Certainly love you, Mr. Chairman, and unfortunately,
All right.
ice cream melted on the way back.
Dale, you see that, huh? Any
pretty hot out
excuse,
there.
what they say, Dale, any excuse is a good excuse, huh? All right. All right, we're with you now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I'm going to ask Chief Mulford if he would step forward.
Mr. Chairman, council members, it's a privilege and an honor to be before you today because we're going to take a little bit of time to recognize one of our citizen heroes. You know, we graduated a class of recruits this last Thursday, and one of the things that we mentioned to those young men and women as they take the oath to be a Shreveport firefighter, that taking that oath is actually one of the last heroic things they'll ever do, because everything beyond that oath that they take is an expectation of our citizens and of the job. But when a citizen puts his or herself in a situation and directly impacts the outcome of someone's threat to danger, in our eyes, that's a heroic act. When you take an ordinary person who does extraordinary things and overcomes that innate fear possibly that's inside of all of us. So if I could, at this time, I would have Mr. Cordero Malone come forward.
Chief, that's a young man.
I'm gonna ask him if he's looking for a job too.
There you go.
You're not looking for a job, are you?
No, not at the time.
All right. Let me read real quick, kind of just a breakdown of what took place. On Saturday, June the 7th of 2014, at approximately 7 p.m., Cordero Malone was driving past the Millbrook Apartments at 611 East Washington. Cordero saw a citizen trying to flag him down, and he stopped and was advised that a child was at the bottom of the apartment swimming pool. Cordero, a former lifeguard, immediately ran to the pool, jumped in and rescued 15-year-old Jasmine Taylor from the bottom of the deep end of the pool. Cordero immediately began life-saving CPR that he had learned during his years serving as a Red Cross-trained lifeguard at the David Raines Pool from 2003 to 2004. He was able to resuscitate Jasmine to the point where she began shallow breathing by the time fire crews from Fire Station 5 arrived. They continued those efforts and transported her to the hospital. Today, Jasmine is doing well and has no ill effects from what could have been a tragedy. The selfless quick action that Cordero took is the main reason Jasmine Taylor is still with us today. It is due to these heroic actions that we are honored to award Cordero Malone the Shreveport Fire Department Citizen Life Saving Award.
All right. Let's stand and give this young man a big hand. He's a hero.
I'm gonna read the certificate right quick.
Rose.
And
Tell her to come on up.
there's a
Get
quote
this down.
by Ambrose Redmoon. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. The Shreveport Fire Department presents Citizen Life Saving Award to Cadero Malone for your selfless and courageous act of rescuing Jasmine Taylor from the bottom of a pool and providing life-saving cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Your extraordinary efforts resulted in saving the life of a young woman and reuniting her with her family. Presented on this date, June 24th, 2014,
Come on up.
Fire Chief Ronald C. Mulford.
Mama, come on up so you can get on the picture.
Hey, as a token of our appreciation, I'm going to give you this challenge coin that was minted for the Shreveport Fire Department. Keep that with you. And
Thank you.
I don't know what you're doing in your career, but if you feel like you got a pull, give me a call.
Chief, hold it right there 1 minute until his mom, and let his mom come up.
She's on injured reserve like I am.
Look out now, man.
Okay. Ready? All right.
And congratulations.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, and I would say that we spoke to Miss Taylor, Jasmine's mother, today, and she wanted us to reassure everyone. They couldn't be here today. We tried to get them here, but she said it's like it never happened. She said there's no ill effects, no deficits, no damage. She said it's like it never happened.
Mr.
And so-
Malone. Mr. Malone,
Thank you.
you are truly a hero here.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are a angel. Just continue to do what you did. You see, you learned that at the David Raines.
Yeah, I took the class, the Red Cross class, like 10 years ago when I was in high school.
Wow.
Okay, now I want the mayor to know this. Mr. Mayor, I opened that pool. I was the first manager. I worked at Lanier. I didn't get a chance to teach the mayor. I got away before he got there. But that's why we need these pools in the different communities. You saved somebody's life. I was God-given. We appreciate you for that.
We do.
Thank you very much.
Hold on 1 second, hold on 1 second. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I won't repeat any of what the chief has just laid out, but without question, this is a young man that is worthy of being honored and recognized for his heroics. And I did not know the backstory with regard to the David Raines pool. I can say this, that Mr. Shine, I think maybe you had moved on as well by the time I took swimming lessons.
But now your daddy helped me.
Absolutely, measured it out
Pool.
right there at the
That's
David
Get
Raines
that
Center.
pool
I
on the
remember.
Cooper Road because they did not have a pool. Your daddy and Hershey
Hershey
Wilson.
Wilson, Lewis
right.
Collier.
That's right.
And a host of other leaders
Right.
throughout the
That's right.
the
Helped me get
neighborhood
that
were
pool.
all integral part of helping to provide that leadership.
That's right.
I had the privilege of learning how to swim at the
Okay.
David Raines pool. And to
Great.
find out that this young man was a lifeguard there, and it was that time spent that put him in a position to be able to respond and to save the life of young Miss Taylor is something I'm very thankful for. And I'm also thankful, Mr. Shine, that thanks to the generosity of the Hertz Foundation, that we are teaching still swimming
That's
lessons at the David Raines pool and at pools all across this city. And that hopefully we'll be able to get Miss Taylor to get into one of those programs
That's right.
and learn some of those life-saving skills herself. But Mr. Malone, in recognition of all that the chief has just referenced with regard to your heroics, I'm honored to present to you on behalf of the city of Shreveport the Mayor's Award of Veterans for your courageous deeds and your unselfish service. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mama, get in there with him.
I just want to say one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
You know, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and it was no accident that 10 years ago, He pricked your heart to take that course, and the Lord placed you at the right place at the right time, and you give Him the glory and honor for that, so. Yeah.
All right. Thank you now. Come back and see us again.
And I'm gonna see if the Lord wants him to be placed somewhere else.
Amen.
There you go. There you go. There you go. We might have to get Sammy up there and teach you how to swim. Pastor Mays, you might have to baptize Sammy there. You know.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to take a moment to, as the chief referenced, not only last week that we graduated a class, I believe the 60th class of the Shreveport Fire Department. I believe we also had the 59th, the 70th class, so the 60th and the 70th classes respectively of the Shreveport Fire Department and the Shreveport Police Department. I want to thank all of those courageous young men and young women who have decided to commit themselves to a life of public service and in line with something that I always share when I have an opportunity to be able to attend those graduations. It was something that was said first by Fiorello LaGuardia, the mayor of New York, back around the turn of the 20th century, where he said that the last heroic act that firefighters and police officers ever commit is when they take the oath and become full-fledged firefighters and police officers, because all of the other acts that they will engage in the years to come just end up being a part of the job. So my thanks for all of those heroes who have accepted the challenge and the great burden of being a part of our first responder community. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, also want to remind you that this is going to be the last meeting that we will have prior to the 4th of July. We will have our 6th annual Independence Day Festival celebration along the Shreveport Riverfront, sponsored again this year by KTBS and KPXJ TV stations, along with the good folks at Brookshire's Food and Pharmacy. What's even better news, Mr. Chairman, and members of the council, that this will be the last 4th of July that we will celebrate without the $1 million+ worth of bathrooms and other improvements that will be constructed within that Riverview Park area between now and next summer. So we look forward to welcoming hopefully what will be throngs of folks down to celebrate our nation's independence. Also looking forward to having a great time and hearing all of the great music, sharing in what I know will be some great food, and celebrating exactly what it means to be an American. With that, Mr. Chairman, turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Council members, Sam, I want to start down with you.
I got two matters if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
First, I want to address those residents who reside on Hudson Street, where it's Huston Street, Greensboro neighborhood, where some shooting and gunplay took place there last night. I was in the neighborhood very early this morning. I only engaged people who were already up and about. I intend to return to the neighborhood again to try to knock on a few doors and talk to some of you. I want you to know I'm very concerned about what occurred in the neighborhood last night. I'm equally concerned because I believe there may be some citizens who know some information and maybe you're afraid to pass it on. I want you to know, do not be afraid. There are ways and means of getting information to the police department, who I do want to commend for their rapid response. And to those persons I did talk to, they were very commendable on the response and investigation thus far. But this is what I'm saying. If you know things, if you're hearing things, this is information that our police department can use. Do not be afraid. You can certainly call me, and I will do whatever I can to connect you. You can call the police department, just tell them you got information, but you are concerned about it coming back to you. Nobody wants to put you in harm's way. So just hear from me that the matter's being looked into. I think it's very unfortunate. We got another summer that's coming, and for some reason it appears that these things seem to just want to occur whenever the summer months arrive. But just know that it's very important right now that you pass on whatever information you have. And I would not be saying this if I were not told that some people know some things and they just are a little afraid to say something. If you do not pass on the information, you allow yourself to be victimized again, maybe by the same people. There are ways to deal with this. Our part pass on the information, leave everything else in the hands of the police. I did hear some comments, and I'm saying leave law enforcement in the hands of the police. It's not our job to go out and seek any kind of retribution. I certainly want to send my prayers and my thoughts out to the victims, to the persons whose homes were victimized, to those individuals who may be a little afraid right now. Just know it is a matter that's being looked into. So I just want to use this medium. I will be back into the community again, not later on this evening than tomorrow, depending on what the weather allow us to do. Okay? Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and see if we could take up resolution number 108 at this time. If I can get a second on my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Sam
I mean, I had to
Jenkins.
find out
seconded
what
by-
resolution 108 was before I agreed to it, but I'm all right.
Is this the one
108,
recognizing?
all right, all in favor, vote yes, opposed to no. Rules has been suspended.
Thanks, Ms. Stroggins and her family members to come forward, and her supporters to come forward. I believe the clerk will read the resolution, and I will join them at the podium. All right, Ms. Clerk.
This is a resolution recognizing Ty Stroggins of Stroggins Consulting LLC for being selected Minority Business Champion for 2004 by the Small Business Administration, Louisiana Division, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto by Councilman Sam Jenkins. Whereas Ty Stroggins, MBA, owner of Stroggins Consulting LLC, has been selected as a Minority Business Champion for 2004 by the Small Business Administration, Louisiana Division. And whereas the announcement of the award to Ty Stroggins was made by the Louisiana Economic Development and the United States Small Business Administration at a private reception at the Governor's Mansion on May the 14th, 2014. And whereas at the reception, LED Secretary Stephen Moray stated that small business leaders like Mrs. Stroggins play a vital role in Louisiana's economy. And whereas Ty Stroggins was chosen Minority Business Champion for 2014 because she has fulfilled a commitment to the advancement of small business opportunities for minority business owners, she has volunteered beyond her business and professional responsibilities to advance small business interests within the state. She has demonstrated accomplishments in advising minority small business groups of opportunities within the overall business community, and she has provided professional services to the minority small business community in a managerial capacity. And whereas Stroggins Consulting LLC is a consulting firm located in Shreveport and New Orleans, specializing in administrative management, project management, and training in an array of services that include business development, technical assistance, public outreach, leadership development, and other services. And whereas Ty Stroggins is a native of Shreveport and a graduate of Woodlawn High School, she holds a BS in biology and an MBA degree, and her first book will be released in August 2014. Now
Hallelujah.
therefore,
All right.
be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shreveport in due regular and legal session convened that Ty Stroggins is recognized and congratulated for being named 2014 Minority Business Champion by the Small Business Administration Louisiana Division, and for her demonstrated successes in helping small minority businesses throughout the state of Louisiana. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be executed in duplicate originals, with one original presented to Ty Stroggins and the other resolution filed in perpetuity in the office of the Clerk of Council for the City of Shreveport. This resolution has been signed by all 7 council members.
All right.
I am so elated, and thank you,
Councilman Jenkins and the rest of the council for bestowing upon me this recognition. I am a product of Shreveport and very proud of it. I left and went to college when I was 17 and came back because of Hurricane Katrina, and it was a good decision. Thank you for focusing on economic development and having an emphasis on small businesses, specifically minority businesses. So it's an honor. I would like to personally thank my family.
Introduce them.
This is my mother, Flora
All
Simpson,
right, hey,
who drives me a lot.
that's great.
The young lady in the green is my assistant. She's also my road dog. I put about 40,000 miles, 40 to 45,000 miles on a car. My grandmother rides with me.
Oh, yay.
Her name is Lurleen Rayson, product of Moortown.
There you go. There you go.
I represent
Right.
Hollywood.
All right.
And my sister, the beautiful Eureka Scroggins, she said, "But I know what I do because she taught me."
All right.
And the other young lady that's walking around is my aunt, Sharonda Whitaker.
All right.
Thank you guys once again.
Well, and I must just add that this weekend I see Ty does not rest on her laurels. I saw her out at the probably multiple events, but I happened to see her at the Louisiana Startup Prize event, where a number of young entrepreneurs were coming to present their ideas and learn more about entrepreneurialism, and she was right there at the front line, proving why she deserves this honor. So it's great to see her here today.
Yes, sir.
We need the motion to adopt.
Yes, so move to adopt.
Yes. All right, it's been moved by Councilman Jenkins, second by Councilman Jenkins, to adopt that particular resolution. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed is no. With the 7-0 vote, the resolution has been adopted. And if it's all right with the members of the council, since we have the rules suspended at this point, I'd like to bring up two of our fine attorneys here in town. And Mr. J. Whitney Pencil, Pasnell, and I think Mr. Tom Arsenault would like to speak also. Tom, you want to come up and just kind of take your seat there between two fine ministers. One is of the Muslim faith, and the other one is of the Christian faith.
Thank you. Fully covered.
Yeah, you're fully covered, Tom. Now, Tom is a Catholic gentleman, in case you don't.
He's safe over here.
Yeah, okay. Jay Whitney,
Yes, sir. Did you want to hear from me on what we have on the agenda for today?
please.
Okay. What we have here, Councilman Shine, other members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, is a motion for a rehearing on and reconsideration of the council's motion to substitute and vote approving the application by Larkin Development at Railsback LLC to subdivide Unit 6 of the Esplanade subdivision. The council adopted the motion to modify and then voted to reverse the MPC and approve the application as modified on June 10, 2014. We filed our request for a rehearing and reconsideration of those matters on June the 17th, 2014, 1 week later. I think within 2 or 3 days after that, Mr. Arsenault filed an opposition, a reply. I have filed into the record today a response to Mr. Arsenault's opposition. I'll need to give him a copy of that. But the matter is really very simple. We're requesting a rehearing for essentially 2 reasons. First, we have received information that some of the members of the council may have been involved in private meetings or conferences in the week or weeks leading up to the consideration of that matter on June 10, 2014. We believe that there may have been violations of the open meetings law in connection with those conferences or meetings, if they were held. We do not know at this time whether or not they were. We received information to that effect. We have propounded a public records request to the mayor and the city for copies of documents and records that we think may substantiate that. We haven't received a reply yet. But if that took place, then it may call into question the validity of the council's actions and votes on June the 10th, 2014. Now, let me just emphasize, we've received information, but all we have right now is information. We are in the process of investigating that. But we do think that it's something that the council should be aware of and that they should have the opportunity to consider. The second ground of our motion for a rehearing is the fact that we do not think the motion to substitute that was offered and adopted, approved by the council, was sufficient to protect the potential corridors or routes for 3132. We made that point at the time, but we still think it's a valid one. And that consequently, the approval of the application is still inadequate to protect the public's interest in the completion of the Interloop Extension Project, i.e. Highway 3132. We think those are very important matters to the city. We do think if there's any question about it, that's something that the council should look at and reconsider because of the importance of the issues. And that's what we have requested in our request for a rehearing and consideration. There are additional details in the letter that we filed. You should have received copies of those. Now, I will say that in response to our request for a rehearing, Mr. Arsenault filed an opposition. I don't want to put words in his mouth, and so I won't purport to speak for him. But my understanding of the opposition is simply this. They're arguing that the council does not have the authority to entertain or to grant a motion for rehearing or to reconsider its earlier actions because it's not provided for in the charter of the city of Shreveport or in the ordinances in the municipal code. We disagree with that. The council is given jurisdiction and authority to entertain appeals from the MPC on applications for approvals of subdivisions in section 8228 of the municipal code. It is true that it does not specifically mention or refer to rehearings or reconsiderations. But we believe that that grant of jurisdiction to this council is a plenary one and that it enables the council to do anything that it, in its discretion, thinks is appropriate or advisable to properly hear and resolve appeals. We think that extends to and includes granting motions for rehearings or reconsideration where they are warranted or appropriate. We believe they are. We believe that the authority for doing that exists under 8228, and we've tendered those matters to the council for its consideration. That's really all that I have to say. If any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. Oh, one other thing. We did ask Mr. Thompson to note this on the agenda, and I think he did under item 13 as an item for the subject of a clerk's report.
He did.
We don't have any problem with the council taking up the question today as to whether or not a motion for rehearing or reconsideration should be granted. Okay, I think that's a question that's primarily a legal and a discretionary question that the council can properly determine today. If the council does agree to grant a rehearing or to reconsider the matter, we do think that that would need to be put off for a little while so that we can get a response to our public records request and get our information and present it before a decision on the merits is made. But the issue now, I guess, is whether or not a rehearing or reconsideration should be granted. We think that can be properly taken up now. In the event that it is granted, we think that another hearing is going to have to be scheduled further off to allow us to do the discovery and get the information documents before that hearing is held. But again, that's all that I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
We do, Councilman.
Just one, do you dispute the information or disagree, I don't know what the legal term is, that we got from Ms. Glass and our clerk of council in regards to the rehearing yesterday?
Well, to be honest, Councilman, I don't know what that information is. I'm not familiar with that. I don't know what Ms. Glass briefed you on or what she
break in 1 minute. Let me just break in. I was going to ask Ms. Glass to give the opinion, Councilman, as soon as.
Okay. Because, I mean, the only reason I asked, I know you weren't in here, I just didn't know if somebody on your team didn't listen to it. I mean, I know somebody on your group definitely listened to the meeting yesterday, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a stretch if you tell me nobody heard it, but.
I
I'm
intended to be
questioning-
here myself and was unable to do it, and I apologize for that.
But did anybody dispute it, as far as you know, and your team who listened to it disagreed with the opinion she offered yesterday?
No, sir, I was unaware that, it doesn't surprise me that the city attorney's office would answer questions or brief the council on a matter like that, but I wasn't familiar with the fact that it occurred, much less what was said.
I wanted to give it to you so you can hear it directly.
Sure.
And you don't have to get it secondhand.
Okay?
Julie, you wanna?
Well, I believe what I told the council yesterday was that in looking at both the subdivision ordinance and state statutes, I did not find anything that would prevent the council as a legal matter from reconsidering that vote. However, under Robert's Rules of Order, which are adopted as part of the City Council's rules, reconsideration of a vote on a later meeting date would be contrary to the Rules of Order. The Rules of Order can be suspended with at least 5 votes, and it could be done that way. We also talked about the what Robert's Rules of Order says about when reconsideration is appropriate, such as that it should be used when a decision was, I don't know if I have it in front of me, made hastily, or when additional information has come to light. Also, that it should not be used when something has been done that cannot be undone, basically, or is impossible to undo. So that's basically what I thought.
And then,
Well, hold on just a minute. Did you understand?
Yes, I did, Councilman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. And if I might be permitted to respond, I agree with Ms. Glass that there's nothing in the charter or the code that prevents this council from granting a rehearing or reconsidering the matter. It does not expressly say or provide that they can, but I believe that's implicit in Article 8228, and I agree with her 100% on that. As to the point involving Robert's Rules of Order, I must confess that although I'm familiar with the local rules of the courts, and I did review the rules of the council before I came today, I'm not familiar with Robert's Rules of Order. She may be entirely correct about that. I'm not in a position to say one way or the other, but everything that she says sounds reasonable to me. And I would say that under the rules, as related to us by Ms. Glass, that the council could properly consider this. Now, I would not suggest that this matter was hastily considered. The council gave us 3 hours on June the 10th to make our positions known. There was much debate, much information was presented. I don't think that anybody was hasty, okay? But new information has come to light in connection with the possibility of private meetings or conferences in advance that may have affected or influenced the outcome. And as I said, it is an important issue, and we don't think, and we noted this at the time, and I know the council was aware of it, but we don't think that the motion to substitute that was offered was sufficient to protect the public's interest or several of the corridors of routes. And by the corridors of routes that I mentioned specifically are the 3 that were not included in the Stage 0 study. Okay. So does that answer your question, Councilman Jenkins?
just one other part that you mentioned yesterday, and I can't remember if it was from Robert's Rules or if it was from another procedure, but it has to be somebody in the majority,
On the prevailing side.
on the prevailing side to make that motion, right? Is that what you said? Okay.
So that means that you or either Councilman Sam Jenkins would have to,
Or
Mike
Michael, or Rose, or
Yeah,
Jeff.
Rose
I think
or
there's
Jeff.
5 of us.
I thought it was a
Yeah, would
5-2
have
vote.
to, yeah, would have to make, that motion.
Bill and I should have voted yes, so we could make that motion.
Yeah. Let me say this, before we close this out, we'll bring you right back. Let me hear from Councilman, I'm sorry,
Mr.
Tom, I'm so used to calling you Councilman, Attorney Tom Arsenault, and then, we'll, before we close it out.
Thank you,
Tom,
Mr.
you wanna
Chairman.
come up?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Arsenault, 400 Texas Street, Suite 1400, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I represent the Larkin entities and Mr. Larkin. I think Ms. Glass is 100% right. Your rules, Section 12 of your rules deals with appeals from the MPC. It does not provide for any rehearing. The rehearing is really not a rehearing. Under Robert's rules, members of an assembly, like yours, have under limited circumstances the right to reconsider in a timely fashion a motion. Ms. Glass, I think, properly laid out those rules. I am familiar with them. I dealt with them for 8 years on the council, and I have them right here on my phone. She's 100% right. First of all, I do not believe that there were any meetings that violated the open meetings law. The 7 of you sitting here know whether that happened or not, regardless of the result of any public records request. I happen to believe it likely did not happen. It certainly didn't happen in my presence or in the presence of my client. So, what is being done here is, frankly, 5 of you are being slandered or accused of something based on rumor or supposition that likely did not occur. I'm sorry that someone has put you in that position to impugn your integrity and your ability to conduct business in a lawful way. There are remedies for that, but then someone has to actually sign pleadings that say there's a basis for it. That remedy is to go to court over that, and they have 60 days to do that from the date of your meeting. You know whether or not that occurred. If it didn't occur, there's no reason to rehear it. We've been through this many, many times with you, and there's plenty adequate time for you to consider this. The matter ultimately will head to court. Let it go there. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Any questions? There are no questions. Mr. Arsenault,
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman.
I have one, not for
Okay.
Tom, but I was wanting to ask the administration, I know he made a comment that he hadn't heard any response from his request. What kind of timeline, or they haven't even responded that they've received the request? I mean,
I'd like to ask Ms. Scott to come
Yeah.
forward. She handles all the public records requests and does it in accordance with the procedure. She can outline that for you.
And Mr. Webb, I think it's probably appropriate to note prior to Ms. Glass speaking that the request that's coming, I think, similar fashion to some of the previous ones, and that it is a pretty broad and sweeping request that obviously will take considerable time and resources to respond to. But I also, Mr. Chairman, have some comments to make in line with what I perceive to be potentially the source of the information that Mr. Pesnell has referenced, and it will be a very easy question to answer and address if one's open to receiving the actual information.
Okay.
Mr. Webb, members of the council, Mayor is correct. We are attempting to gather the information in response to the request. As you may be aware, part of what we do in responding, because the request asks for information, communication documents regarding meetings, conversations had with the council members, with the administration, with MPC members, with persons in the city attorney's office regarding Esplanade Unit 6. One of the sources of information that we check are emails. So we've asked our IT department to start doing the email search. They're in the process of doing that. The timing of this request, though, is such that the IT department was in the process of changing over our email system, or our email server, I believe is how Dan referred to it. So because of the conversion from one system to another, that's taking a little bit longer time. He's also had some technical difficulties in accessing that information, but we are working on it. In addition to checking emails, we're also checking for writings, memos, letters, or any other written communication that may have been done. I have actually started contacting some of you on last week to ask a series of questions that I put together in attempting to respond to the public records request. And those questions have to do with the very subject of whether or not there were any meetings that you may have participated in, whether or not there was written communication, or anything else that is a tangible document that we can provide in response to the public records request. So we are working on the request. It is our intent to provide it as quickly as possible, even if we have to do it in terms of rolling production. That means as we get information, we provide it, such that we will ultimately be able to respond with all information that we have to all of the questions that have been asked.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just was curious because, I mean, I was under the impression when he said that he didn't even know if y'all had received it. So-
No, sir, we did receive it. As a matter of fact, I forwarded a copy of it to all of you by email on the day it was received.
Mr. Mayor? Want to
Mr.
answer the
John?
question?
The way in which I think you can possibly look to try and get some insight or perspective in terms of what is the basis of what Mr. Pesnell has, I believe, characterized as the first basis for requesting the appeal, information that they have received indicating that there was something amiss with regard to the process. Now, Mr. Arsenault has stated that only you all as council members know whether or not any of you all assembled in a way that is not in line with the charter and the laws of the state of Louisiana. But part of what I have read, and unfortunately it comes from the blogosphere, is the accusation that prior to the meeting of 2 weeks ago, that I played some role in bringing together some gathering of council members for the purpose of coming up with the strategy, I guess, to basically facilitate the outcome with regard to this matter. And that meeting supposedly took place on the second floor in my office. Now, for those folks who care or are concerned to actually look at what is already right now within the public record, you would know that there was a properly posted announcement of a meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 10th of June, on the second floor in the large conference room in the mayor's office. That was a meeting of the Industrial Development Board. That is the basis of Resolution 109 that is on the agenda for today. I think it's important to note that there was not one single council member in attendance at that 11 o'clock meeting. Although certainly you all would have been welcome, and anyone else from the general public would have been welcomed as well. But we met for several hours prior to the start of the council meeting of June 10th. Wrapped up, and I came here and we conducted this meeting. But from some of the information that I have read, again, on various blogs and other places of comment and some things that have been passed along directly to me, the accusation that I think serves as the basis of point number one that was offered by Mr. Pesnell was that there was a gathering of myself and others along with you all as council members prior to the beginning of the council meeting. Again, as I stated, for anybody who would take time to notice, you would notice it was properly posted. The agenda was detailed. It involved no business with regard to 3132. It was specifically a gathering of the members of the city's Industrial Development Board. But unfortunately, I think it was that particular set of circumstances that serves as the basis upon which this very broad, wide-sweeping accusation has been made. So I wanted to offer that, Mr. Shine, members of the council, into the public record. And I'm certainly sure that a part of what will be included in in Ms. Scott's response will be that the hours prior to the council meeting of June 10th, that there was a gathering, but it was of an entirely different nature than 3132. Thank you, Mr. Shine.
Council, did you want to respond to that right quick?
Very briefly, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Good.
I just wanted to make a couple of points. First of all, we haven't made any accusations against any members of the council or tried to impugn anyone's honesty or integrity. We have some information. We think there may have been a violation of the open meetings law. That doesn't necessarily mean that anyone did anything dishonest or with any sort of ill motive. Those things can occur innocently. What we have done is we have said we've received information and we are investigating it. We've asked for public records and information, but we haven't named any names, and we haven't made any accusations because we don't know yet if there's a sufficient basis for doing that. We're investigating it to find out. So I don't think that Mr. Arsenault is quite fair when he accuses us of making accusations or impugning anybody's honesty or integrity. Second, with regard to the public records request, it was sent and I believe received about a week ago. Ordinarily, public entities are supposed to respond within 72 hours, but particularly with this, our request is admittedly very expansive and very broad because we don't know what transpired or what may have transpired, and so we have cast a wide net. I know that it takes time for the city, including the city attorney's office, to review that and gather that information. I have called Ms. Scott's office once or twice and left messages. I haven't yet been able to speak to her, but I don't think that they've been delaying unreasonably yet. I was trying to get in touch with her to try and work that out and get that done. With respect to what may or may not be in the blogosphere, I don't know about that. There may well have been a meeting in the mayor's office that had nothing to do with these matters. If that's the case, we're certainly not interested in that. That doesn't have a bearing on Larkin Railsback's application or 3132 or any of the things that we're interested in. But we can't find out without asking the questions. There may have been other events or other meetings or conversations that transpired. We don't know. So our request is admittedly very broad. I don't know. It's possible that may have given rise to some suspicion by some persons that a meeting was improperly held. I don't think that's what we're talking about. That's not what our information is. And as I said, we've received information. We don't know yet whether or not it's accurate or whether it's correct. We're trying to find out about that now. I just wanted to clear the record by stating that. And I would say that we've worked with Ms. Scott and the administration in connection with public records requests in the past. And I think they've tried to be forthcoming and give us what they had or what was available. We hope they'll do the same here. And then when they do, or when they have, we'll be in a position to address the merits. The only other thing that I would say, and this goes to really, I guess, the discussion of Robert's Rules of Order by Ms. Glass. If it's improper to have a hearing and then have another, then maybe we need to postpone this decision until we can get the documents and do everything at one time. That's one possible solution to that conundrum. That's all that I can offer right now, Mr. Councilman. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
All right. Any questions? Any comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If you just give me one brief second, and I'm gonna quote from a local website, forward-now.com. It says, newsbreak, earlier today, a totally reliable source called to tell me that this nastiness was afoot, engineered by Glover. A nearly secret meeting was underway about midday, referencing June 10th, ginned up by Glover, run by his, not our city attorney, and including an MPC staff member who should not have been there, notably too some council, staff, and members. The purpose of the meeting was said to be precisely the motion offered up hours later by Corbin. Importantly, one councilman who ran those traps for me reported that the council clerk denied with 100% certitude that any such commode filling ever occurred.
Read the rest of it. Read the rest of it.
I can't prove it yet, but this thing today had more than a mere whiff of something lousier. Well, the part I didn't was he lied, number two. I guess that's in reference to Mr. Corbin, I guess. I believe it is. I can't prove it, parenthetically, yet, but this thing today had more than a mere whiff of something much lousier than most of us care to wonder about.
All I can say is there are all sorts of things on the internet. Neither I nor the personal law firm authored that or vouchsafed it. All we've done is submit a public records request seeking records and information. They're not limited to the day of the hearing, by the way, either. I think they cover the 2-week period leading up to the hearing on June 10, 2014.
All right, I'm going to end this discussion right here. And if we have no more questions or comments from the council, I I think to the council, Ms. Glass made it clear that basically we would need a motion from the prevailing side at this point to schedule a rehearing. And I'm going to ask if there is a motion from the prevailing side. If not, I'm going to say at this particular point, we're going to put this discussion to rest, and we'll have to look at it later. Now, do we have a motion from the prevailing side to reschedule the vote? Marvin, I've been accused of moving too quick, so I don't want to be accused of moving too quick again. Is there a motion? If not, gentlemen, we appreciate it, and we'll look at this topic of this discussion at a later time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, we appreciate your courtesy and your attention.
Thank you. Okay, we will move back into our agenda. Mr. Mayor, I take that you're through with your communication?
Yes, with the exception, Mr. Shine, I understand that there's a inclination upon the, within the council to add Mr. Furlong's appointment to today's agenda. If that is in fact the case, we would make that request at this point. Assistant City Engineer.
Hold on just 1 minute. Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
I think we'll have to wait until we add that, Mr. Mayor.
At the appropriate time.
Yeah, okay,
Exactly.
at the appropriate time.
Exactly.
All right.
But as a question, I think yesterday, Art, I'm sorry, did they say we could do it today?
Well, if the council suspends the rules and adds it, you can.
So if our rules are suspended right now,
Why don't we wait until we just get to where we are adding legislation, and we'll suspend the rule and we'll add it at that particular time? What, you know, since we will be adding things, why don't we wait until we get to that point, Mr. Mayor, and you can add it at that particular time. Okay, Ms. Farnell, where's Ms. Farnell?
She's coming forward.
Please, let's come. We'll come back to our agenda.
oh, I'm sorry, actually, I think we suspended the rules after Sam's comments, but I did have some communication from council. Can I make those at this point?
Sure, Ms. Farnell, if you just.
Before. It won't take too long, Dorothy. You can
Right.
stay right there. I did just want to, in a similar vein as what Councilman Sam Jenkins said earlier, express my thoughts, prayers, and concerns for the people of the Oak Meadows apartments. There was a shooting that occurred there yesterday. I know that one of our favorite council guests, Sammy Mears, is a resident of Oak Meadows over there, and I know that that is a big concern for the residents of the community. So we want to express our concerns, thank the police for being on scene quickly, and similarly would like to invite anybody with any information about what occurred to not feel any hesitancy in coming forward to the police to share that information, as it is an ongoing investigation. Also do want to recognize and thank the fire department for their quick response to a 2-alarm fire that happened earlier today in the South Highland neighborhood, a house that is sort of overlooks Betty Virginia Park. It's very close to Betty Virginia Park. Many people saw this fire across the city. It caught up very quick, and you may have seen it on the news. Tragic loss of what looks to be a very, very large structure that was being remodeled. We don't know a lot of details right now, but I do know that some of the firemen who were there were working in very threatening conditions, and it was a very difficult fire to get to, as it started on sort of the top of the structure, which is a dangerous place to fight a fire. So we appreciate their quick response, and certainly we'll look to hear more about that situation in days to come, but it is a tragedy, and we want to acknowledge and appreciate the fire department for addressing it as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Farnell, please. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Farnell? Ms. Farnell, thank you. Okay, Mr. Sibley, did you have any remarks?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. We'll do an updated revenue collection report at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Sanders, did you have any? Ms. Sanders?
I
Okay.
don't see her, Mr. Chairman, but if I recall from yesterday, she indicated she had nothing to report during this session.
That's true, but you know how it is with ladies, sometimes they
change.
say they don't have anything.
I think she
say,
stepped
and-
out. When she comes back in,
And they'll take 20 minutes.
when she comes back in, we'll check and see if she has
Okay.
anything to offer.
She was here, and I think she stepped out with a call.
Okay, that'll be fine. Okay, Mr. Thompson? Mr. Thompson, no public hearing, right?
We have two matters.
I'm sorry, you're exactly right. Administration?
Read it first.
We have public hearings on the following matters, Mr. Shan. Resolution number 96 of 2014, a resolution affirming the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Home Federal Bank to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program. And resolution number 97 of 2014, a resolution affirming the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Petroleum Building LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the administration, we have Ms. Ebony Mapp from Community Development who will present on these projects.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is an effort to correct a miscalculation in two RTA applications in the Downtown Development District. For Resolution 96, it's Home Federal Bank. Just to give you a brief summary of what that application was about, it was approved in on November 12, 2013. Total project cost for that one was $540,000. Key features of the application included retention of 17 jobs. They added four permanent executive and staff jobs and created 15 temporary construction jobs for the site. The improvements included a new storefront, interior redesign to add the new executive office spaces, window refinishing, asbestos abatement, and preservation of the marble flooring. The previously approved city forfeitures were $1,251 per year at a 5-year total of $6,243. The corrected forfeitures are $2,233 each year with a total for 5 years of $11,166, and that's for Home Federal Bank. The resolution for Resolution 97 for Petroleum Building LLC is for the property located at 619 Market Street.
Just 1 minute.
Sure.
Mr. Sibley, did you all want to handle this as
They can
two
be done
public?
together, Mr. Chairman.
Just
Should
go
they
on
be
together?
separate?
Okay, well, that'll be fine.
Okay.
First of all, anybody got any questions?
For Home
Comments?
Federal Bank?
If not, proceed.
Okay. Resolution 97 for Petroleum Building located at 619 Market Street. That was approved in May 13th, 2014, and the total project cost for that was $725,000. Key features of that application included 4-level improvements, which were the ground floor. They were going to put parking and commercial space on that level. The second and third floor, they were going to restore the commercial space that already existed. And then on the fourth floor, they were going to put a luxury-style apartment. The property was deemed to have historic significance to the Downtown Development District by the state and was certified as a historic structure for rehabilitation at the federal level. And the previously approved city forfeitures were $417 per year for a total of $2,085 for the 5 years in total. The corrected city forfeitures are $2,084 per year and a 5-year total of $10,420. Are there any questions?
What was the previous total on that?
For Petroleum Building, for this one? The 5-year or the 1 year, or both?
The 5-year.
The 5-year total was $2,085.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions or comment? If not, public hearing closed.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
need to ask the public if they have any.
Well, anybody from the public have any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
officially express the administration's support.
Okay.
And I
Thompson,
will,
we don't have anybody from the public with any comments. Any council member before we close this public hearing?
I'll just express my support and thank the Department of Community Development for realizing and addressing an error in these applications and correcting that. So we
Thank you.
appreciate that.
You all are doing a fine job.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ms. Matt.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to be like President Bush and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. Thank y'all very much. Okay, Mr. Thompson, we would like to add some legislation at this.
Mr. Chairman, we have a resolution to affirm and support Mayor Cedric B. Glover's request to Governor Bobby Jindal concerning the Harrelson landfill. He made the request by letter dated June the 19th, 2014, which is attached to the resolution. And the mayor has also asked that the city council would consider adding the appointment of the assistant city engineer, Mike Patrick Furlong, professional engineer, and I believe that you have his information in the resume.
So moved.
Second.
We do, before we can do that, let me give the public an opportunity to, is it anyone in the public that would have any opposition of this legislation being added to the agenda? And Mr. Mayor, I think we have quite a few people here that would like to speak about your legislation in relation to the landfill. So after we add it to the agenda, I'm going to ask for the suspension of the rules again and let those people come forward. I think Councilwoman McCullough have some people down that would like to speak about that. And to me, that's a very, very important issue. Those people have been suffering for years from that landfill, and not only does it look bad, but it's really unhealthy. And I think that needs to be a priority. Wouldn't you say so, Ms. Irma Rogers? That needs to be a priority of this city government. So, if I can get a motion again to add this to the legislation, it's been moved by Councilwoman McCullough, second by Councilman Jeff Everson. All in favor vote yes, opposes nay. And
Shannon, did you intend to take up the mayor's suggestion that we add assistant city engineer?
I was hoping that in that motion it would be both.
We actually made two.
Huh?
We actually made two motions.
Okay, right, so.
One for each.
One for each.
It's both?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay.
It's both. I'd like to get a motion at this time to suspend the rules and Ms. McCullough.
So
we can-
moved.
Mr. Chairman, we under public comments, it's right next item, and you don't.
You're exactly right, Mr. Thompson. So let's go into public comments, and Councilwoman McCullough, I'm going to refer to you to kind of come in with the introduction, and then we'll let the people come in with the public comments. And we have quite a few.
Right. Okay, actually, as Councilman Shine has mentioned, most of you are aware of the issue with Harrison's landfill within District A, within the MLK area. We've had several meetings for the past week, one held at Southern University, and then another meeting was held at the Willis Knighton Health Center, Medical Health Center. As a result of those meetings, I felt it very urgent to support Mayor Glover's letter, of which he sent to Governor Bobby Jindal, urging and requesting that the landfill be shut down. I don't know, maybe we should allow Mayor Glover to maybe kind of talk about the letter and what it was in detail. Mayor Glover.
That would be fine, Mayor. Would you
requested
like to make a few
before I
comments
do my
about the letter?
introduction.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCullough, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I think to be brief about it, despite the fact that this has been an ongoing situation for some number of years. The history on this situation goes back, at least in terms of my personal involvement, to the 1990s as a member of the city council, when the previous ownership, the Harrelson landfill, transferred ownership to the new operation. It essentially has previously been intended to be a very limited use facility for the proprietary use of the ownership for their own demolition activities and what have you. That was still something that I wasn't supportive of or in line with, but the whole situation became much worse and set itself on a path leading to where we are today, when it became a commercial operation for the purposes of accepting construction debris landfill from any and everybody. The initial request was granted by the Metropolitan Planning Commission at that time. As the council member for District 8, I made a specific request that particular vote be overturned. It was overturned by a 6-0 vote. Unfortunately, it was litigated from that point forward, and the local district court sided with Harrelson. And so they were allowed to commence operation on what was to be under 30 acres of land. They have since expanded that operation to being well over 70 acres, if not more. They have not had any sort of zoning provisions approved in proper manner to allow and facilitate that. As is detailed also in our presentation to the community on last week, there are 7 pages worth of violations that these folks have committed over the years. And to the credit of the local Department of Environmental Quality folks, they have done their job in terms of citing the facility for its violations and passed those violations on up the chain to the proper personnel. I equated it on last week to being a situation that if you were to look at it as a commercial enterprise that was to be regulated by the city of Shreveport, like a liquor store. We issue through our police department a permit to sell liquor, and you end up with an operation that continuously over a 20-year period has violation after violation after violation, whether that's Sunday sales, youth sales, improper ABO cards, whatever the case may be, that you ultimately end up with a situation where we as the administration and you all as the council fail to act to bring that particular business either to compliance or ultimately to place them in revocation. Well, that is the same set of circumstances that applies at the state level with regard to Harrelson landfill. Their permit to operate is not issued by the city of Shreveport. Only aspect of this that we have any control and influence over is the zoning status of it. That zoning status is not in good standing, but they do have a permit that has been legally issued and authorized and approved by the state of Louisiana. It is the state of Louisiana and ultimately the governor that is responsible for enforcing the provisions of that permit. And so, council members, the intent of this letter is to ask that the governor utilize the power and authority that is at his disposal to bring this operation, from my perspective, into a status of losing the right to operate based upon the instance after instance after instance after instance. This isn't just a set of minor grievances. This isn't just as you all sit here and deal with as we see folks who sell liquor, where you have somebody who didn't have an ABO card, or you have somebody who forgot to check the age of someone who came in. This is literally going out and providing the beer for the beer bus for the teenagers. I mean, that's kind of the equivalent of what we have here. And this is taking place right now adjacent to a neighborhood of folks who don't deserve it. And it's also taking place at what is going to be the intersection of Interstate 49 and I-220, essentially the front door, our northern front door for the city of Shreveport. And so it's a situation that needs to be addressed. It's my understanding and appreciation that the governor and the folks at the state level have the ability to be able to offer the relief to the city and to the citizens that they deserve. And this letter asks the governor to do just that. The resolution comes as an expression of my dialogue back and forth with Councilwoman McCullough in her capacity as the council representative from the area, and asking what possibly could be done from a council level that expresses the council's dissatisfaction with the current situation, as well as an expression of support from the people who are here today, and more importantly, the thousands of people that they represent, because this issue has been an MLK Cooper Road issue for a long time, but since the fires have gotten worse, it has become an issue for folks who live in North Shreveport and who travel throughout North Shreveport in general, because it doesn't take you very long as you stand in the parking lot of the Brookshires on North Market or North Highlands, and then some days even over into the Cherokee Park area, to the Lakeview areas or what have you, to find yourselves downwind from the fumes that are emanating from the Harrison landfill. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Councilwoman McCullough, and we'll certainly answer any questions that the council may have, and I'm certainly anxious to hear from the citizens who are here who may want to express their thoughts also.
Councilwoman McCullough, we have quite a few.
Have quite a few.
Right, we will start off with Pastor Mays.
So I didn't finish. Did
Oh,
want
you
me-
did?
I really wanted to just acknowledge some words of
Please,
gratitude
go ahead
to
on. Go ahead on.
the citizens that have worked so diligent and so hard with this issue. And of course, I made a few notes, but as the District A representative, I would like to express my appreciation, first of all, to our mayor, Mayor Cedric B. Glover, for his initiative for such a time as this, in contacting Governor Bobby Jindal concerning the issues of the landfill, which are at present affecting our communities, causing sickness and possible past deaths, and also safety issues. Also, for the record, I'd like to express an appreciation to our chairperson, Councilman Joe Shine, who supported the fact at this particular era, point, and time, it is now high time, in the best interest of the citizens regarding the landfill, that it be shut down. Thanks also to my fellow council members, who have expressed concerns, participated in legal sessions as well as community meetings up to date. Thanks to the MLK Community Association, as well as members of other associations and other community activists residing within the community, for your participation and your steadfastness as well as your services. Thanks to the David Raines Medical Center and Willis Knighton Health Centers, who have educated the community on health issues and safety issues as well. They serve our families daily. Also, a special thanks for the nation, or to the Nation of Islam and other citizens of the city of Shreveport. Last but not least, our fire department. Thanks for all that you have done to help maintain and control the fires of which have affected the MLK community. Some citizens have asked, must we continue to wait on litigations when our people are sick and dying? My answer is no. Some have said, why now? And we've been raising hell for the past 20 years or so. It must be election time. Surely, I would not, as your representative, and I don't believe any other representative sitting here today, would negotiate with a property owner the ignition of a fire in order to get reelected. The record will reflect, as your representative, since serving on the council, due to constant litigations, the fact the state has continuously permitted operation in spite of your many complaints of health and safety, in spite of the many violations and zoning issues. It has been my constant plea to have you, some of you that are here today, to bring those concerns and complaints before this council for the record. Now, it's also been stated by way of media that I am a puppet for the mayor. I beg to differ with that. I'm not a puppet. I don't agree with that. But I do like the idea of being a bulldog. A puppet, it doesn't have any control. A bulldog somewhat has selective, they choose to attack. So when my people come to me on issues that affect them, especially their health and their livelihoods, I am not a puppet, but I am certainly a bulldog. Again, as the District 8 representative, I must agree with the mayor. His comments expressed to me as the representative, the best result throughout this entire battle is that, in his words, the people have now become empowered to stand up. I want to commend you, all of you that I've mentioned, for your initiative, for your zeal to stand up for what you believe is right. The proof is now in the pudding because some of you are here today. On behalf of District A, again, thank you to each and every one of you who have helped to make a difference. Thank you. At this time, we'll hear from our speakers.
Okay, Councilwoman McCullough, thank you very much. Let me make this clear to the speakers now. You all will not have the same time that the mayor had, and you will not have the same time that Councilwoman McCullough had. If so, we'd be here until 12 o'clock. My prayer time might come around before then. Pastor Mays.
Thank you.
Jackie, will you start the clock when
Thank you, Councilman Shine. I'm not going to be long enough for the clock to even get started. First of all, thank you, Councilman Shine, for your years of service. Thank you to the chairman, Councilman Shine, to the vice chairman, Jeff Everson, to our distinguished mayor, and to all that are assembled here on today concerning an issue that relates to District 8 community and all the citizens throughout the city of Shreveport. The mayor hit it right on the head. Councilwoman McCullough hit it right on the head. What my concern is on today is that the resources that are being used by the fire department to come out, Councilman Shine, on multiple occasions. I know, Councilman Shine, you are involved in this as well. Multiple times the fire department had to come out using city resources in order for this company, who has been cited multiple times. The Department of Environmental Quality has cited this particular company over and over and over and over again. So it's disturbing to me that how can a person, Councilman Shine, still be in operation after being cited so many times. I heard you was at one of the meetings that they had, and you expressed some of your views concerning this to the mayor. Thank you for being concerned, and to Councilwoman Rose McCullough, who has always been a fighter and a bulldog, never a puppet. So with that being said, I know it's a lot of other people that want to speak on this particular issue, but the bottom line is that these violations and this burning that has been going on for a number of years is going to have a direct impact on the citizens that live in District 8. And it's sad that we have to go after lawsuit after lawsuit. I think the city got about 4 lawsuits that have been filed, and there's multiple lawsuits that has been filed against this company. So, if it had been anything else, this company should have been out of business long time ago. The new owner that taken over this business should have been never able to operate this business in the first place. But with all that being said, I'm saddened about the whole thing, because it takes all these lawsuits and stuff in order to get this matter resolved. With that being said, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys, and still got 30 seconds left. I appreciate you all being all on the same page, that we all are in agreement that this is a problem that needs to be addressed.
Pastor, thank you. The Honorable Marvin T. Muhammad, please rise and come to the podium.
Yes, Marvin T. Muhammad T. For temporary residing at 1101 Russell Road. I wish Pastor Mays would have actually been very brief, because I was going to petition for his extra time. So I'll go ahead, Chair, and go ahead and ask for.
Well, we're gonna give you that extra time.
For a little bit extra time.
He had about, what was that, about 60 seconds left?
But with that being said, in my right hand I hold a letter that the CEO of the city of Shreveport Mayor Cedric Glover wrote to the Governor Bobby Jindal. And in this letter, it goes into 37 DEQ violations that have been demonstrated. It also goes into 23 incidents that the fire department had to respond to from May 2012 to December 2013, with over 182 different vehicles and engines and machines from the fire department. What's also astonishing is that since then, 2014, in the Maryland, there's also been another 14 instances, and I just spoke with another fire official coming in, and he's also stated that it's literally been every day they had to be forced to go out there to fight a fire that just does not go out. This council in this city is at best very limited and at worst impotent in its ability to control a situation that is really out of its control. We believe, in all fairness, that at best that it is very questionable that the Department of Environmental Quality have the best interests of the MLK area in their best interest. We also believe that some state officials, and we won't call names today.
Please.
We won't call names today, but we do want to make it known that we do believe that it's political corruption that is allowing this continue to perpetuate. We also agree with the mayor that we want immediate and permanent closure of Harrison Management, but not only that, we want to make sure that that area is totally eradicated of the toxic waste site dump from the community.
So moved.
Hold on,
We
hold
also-
on. We're gonna extend you 1 minute now. 'Cause we got about 30 people and we don't wanna start, moving it on and on.
Thank you,
We're gonna
Mr.
give
Chair.
about 1 more
Thank you,
minute.
Mr. Chair. So this is not just about closure. This is about a mass cleanup in the area. We have done some research on Micah Harrison, and we have discovered that he has another landfill off Mount Zion Road. We are concerned about that as well. We also concerned about that it's possible that he would be allowed to just turn up his heels and leave. So we want to know, do we have pollution liability insurance that will force him to actually eradicate that situation? We don't want him to turn up his heels and to then force the federal government to actually to make that a super farm. This morning, we spoke with Senator Mary Landry's aide. I believe he's here today, Malcolm Meyer, and we actually gave him the resolution being introduced by Councilwoman McCullen. We also gave him the letter that Mayor wrote to Governor Bobby Jindal. So we want to press on this. We want to press on this council that this must be something of top order. This cannot fall asleep. We'll be watching, and we beg of you, we plead of you to make this of top priority, to make sure our state officials, whether it be State Senator Greg Tarver, our state representative in District 4, Patrick Williams, and others, to make sure they are corresponding and working with this and working with the current administration, because politics, the game is over when people are actually losing their lives. Thank you.
Marvin, we agree with you, and we know that this will be led by the administration, and we will do our, did Ms. Rogers leave out? Okay, next is Ms. Thelma Humphrey. Why, Ms.
Quick question. Is there opposition to the letter, or where?
It's not necessarily no opposition to the letter, but Ms. McCullough had some people come down and we want to at least give them an opportunity since they live in that area and they suffering through this poison that this dump has been spewing for quite a while.
Councilman Shine, Ms. McCullough, Mayor Garber. My name is Thelma Humphrey. I live at 3237 Sydney Street in the Martin Luther King area. And I'm one of the volunteers for the CDC program. And I just want to let you all know that I'm supporting Mayor Glover with the letter that he sent Governor Barbara Jender. And most of all, what we want to know is what you all going to do about the place and when are you all going to close it down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Miss
Rogers is here.
Ms. Rogers, please come forward. And next will be, is this Janie Jackson? Is Ms. Jackson here? Ms. Jackson, you'll be next after Ms. Rogers.
Chairman Shine, Vice Chair Everson, Mayor Glover, Mr. Sibley, all of our city councilmen, our city councilwoman, Mrs. Rose Wilson McCullough. I have with me several envelopes. These envelopes represent 2008, 2009, 2010, and past then to the present day. Approximately 2008, I think I was testifying before the Louisiana Senate Committee, a sub-Senate committee, about this very issue that was at the height of being turned over to LDEQ at that time. Later, signatures were sent. I think it's Ms. Samaya Goshen, when I look at my records, was then at the LDEQ department. We sent over 1,300 signatures. Reverend Holden helped to spearhead that, and other members from Willis Baptist Church and Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, and several members from Russell Road area, Bunny Street, McMarshall Street, Nash Street. You'll hear those addresses in a few minutes. At any rate, to no avail, a lawsuit was filed. Mrs. Thelma Humphrey, who just left, Mrs. Mitty Farrow, they lended their names and had the courage to step up and help to file that lawsuit with Tulane Law Center. At that time, the lawsuit went back on appeal because it was denied again against this very dump site. We have been living with the stench. It has now become a primary source of environmental problems because it's on fire. It has enlarged itself. It appears that Mr. Harrison does not adhere to any of the cease and desist orders. I have one here dated June 9th, 2009 from the governor's office. All of these were submitted at that time. We've been in contact by email with Tulane Law Center again to see if we can get whatever records that they have that might be able to be released to the public. I'm representing some of the people who could not be here today. Miss Mary Harris, I think she lives on McMarshall Street. Mrs. Ethel Edwards, who was there far before this landfill was there and did write an oppositional letter to the MPC at the time asking them not to put it there when it was Chandler Brothers, more than 65 years ago. She asked for this not to be done. Her daughter, Phoebe Edwards, who I'm sure that you have heard from, who has been sending a lot of these emails, that sent this email even to Tulane Law Center in our behalf, is one of our members, and requesting that with all due haste, this landfill is closed, that it shall be cease and desist.
Chairman, so moved.
Going on now.
In perpetuity, because now you run the risk of toxins. You may have a groundwater table which may be developing with toxic waste that we have no known information about. There were environmental quality studies and things done when Tulane brought the lawsuit. But now you have a new set of issues because that has been more than 5 years ago. You have residents who are ill. You now have records of residents who shall speak, and I'll let them speak, who have had to call the fire department over there to come to their homes and pick them up and take them to the doctor. Children with asthma attacks and other things. I spoke so adamantly against this issue several years ago because I was subjected to creosote in my hometown of Bossier City. Detrimental effects. I have 3 siblings who are deceased, one from unknown causes. I don't think you know how that feels unless you had somebody, your sister, die from unknown causes. So I just want to reiterate what they're going to talk about, which is this is detrimental to our neighborhood. As the president of the MLK CDC, we did not bring the lawsuit. We just assisted our members in helping. But right now, if we were to try to bring one, I don't have any faith in LDEQ. My suggestion to you is to seek other avenues. I know we have to follow protocol. That's what we did. Protocol didn't get us anywhere at that time. We need to seek other avenues, higher levels, EPA, Washington, D.C., etc., wherever we have to go. But something needs to be done, and it needs to be done right now. Any questions?
Let me ask you one question,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Rogers. Do you think if this dump was out on the Ellaby Road, that Mr. Harrison, do you think maybe the state troopers or somebody from the federal government would have knocked on his door by now with all of the violations that he's had?
Of course.
Of course I do.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you. Thank you very much.
It's not that we've not knocked on his door. We did that. And they almost arrested Reverend Holden when he did it.
I'm not talking about you all.
I
I'm talking about
understand.
the state troopers.
I understand. That's
somebody
right. A
from
different
federal
entity?
Bureau.
Very good point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Michael Brooks is I'm sorry, Michael. Miss Janie Jackson.
Hello, I'm Janice Jackson. I live at 1718 Gang Street. And I've been calling about this fire ever since June the 5th. This fire been going. And I have asthma, bronchitis. I'm on 2 different inhalers. And I called them, the police and the fire department. They had to come out to my house. I had to have breathing treatment. This stuff is killing me and my family. I'm right at the front door. I sleep in the daytime because I watch at night. I called last night twice, 911. I have called hazmat. I have my number, what they told me to write down. I just want it closed down, please. It's killing me and my family and all my neighbors. Please.
Thank you.
Ms. Jackson, thank you. Mr. Brooks?
How everybody doing?
Give us your name, Mr. Brooks.
Oh, my name is
Your
Michael
address.
Brooks. And
Address.
you did teach me.
Michael, I did.
Yeah.
Man, you see that? You and I been around a long time.
Give us your
But
address.
anyway,
Give us your address.
my address back then was 1744 Nash Street, but I moved because it was so smoky and everything down in there. I moved up on the north side, 1829 north side now. It's still on the Cooper Road area, but like they said, they need to close that dump. Everybody, I can't breathe, can't leave my windows up because it be smoking in there. All kind of scent and everything that's up in there. I don't know what all they got burning down in that man field, but we can't live up there inhaling that smoke and stuff like that. And it's flies all over the Cooper Road area. They coming from that dump, that man field dump. And we don't need it up there. Like they say, close it down. We ain't got the power to do it, but enough votes, we ought to be able to get it done. And if everybody go right, we can get that thing shut down. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Michael, you're still looking good. All right. That's one of my favorite students there, Marvin. I remember all my good students. Is this Rudin? Okay, please. I might have messed up your name, so you can give it to us. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I wrote to say that, well, my name is Clotish Rubens,
Okay.
and I wrote to say
Give us your address too, Miss.
1756 Nash.
Good.
And I want to say enough is enough. The dumpster needs to be shut down because we can't run out of air conditioner. It's pull that air in. The third Sunday, I am an usher. The third Sunday, I got up to get ready to go to church, and it was so much fume in my house. It was pulling all that excess smoke into the house, and it actually need to be shut down. I have been sick. I'm a diabetic, and I be weak, and don't be hurting, but I just be so weak I don't feel like doing anything. I went to the doctor. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. So, I have a son. He went to the hospital last year having bad headaches. They took all kind of tests of it. They couldn't find nothing wrong with him, and he lived close to the dumpster also. So it needs to be shut down.
Right. We thank you for coming down, and if the mayor and I have to, we might go and stand right in front of the gate and let the police come out and take us to jail, and because I'm not afraid of the jail.
I know that's right.
So
I'll be with you.
okay.
Councilman Shine, now, you know at some of these meetings, we have constituency that don't mind going. They have expressed that, they don't mind going.
Right.
So
Hopefully we don't have to go there.
And Willie Bradford back there, he'll be up shortly, but he came up with a suggestion, and if we have to, since Pastor Mays has volunteered, and you know the mayor's gonna volunteer, so that's 4 of us, and
Mr.
Marvin,
Bradford
I'm
said
not
he
afraid
wanted
of
me
the
to
jail.
go.
I've been through that way.
Councilman
Yes.
Shine, Mr. Bradford said he wanted me to be out there too. Now, you can't leave me out.
Well, I'm gonna let you and Willie take care of that.
Okay.
But Clotilde, thank you so very much for coming down.
Thank you. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Okay. Is this Peggy,
Ely, that's Miss Ely's daughter.
okay, please. After that, Miss Ruth Price Williams is, okay, you'll be next.
Pierce.
Good evening,
Pierce, okay.
panel. My name is Peggy Fisher. I reside at 1712 Bunny. And I just want to talk about the explosion that we went through June 8th. My major concern, just in case, God forbid, is there a big explosion. I would like to ask the panel, if we have a big, huge, something as if we need to be evacuated, has anybody talked about setting up a plan for the residents of the neighborhood? My mom and I, we stay, it's right in our front door, and we smell these fumes. And if there was 2 explosions already, and if it be another, I would just like to know what y'all consider giving us feedback on some kind of task force, or what we can do as citizens in the area on how to get out. Will we have enough water in case there's a big fire and it does, look like it's harming us? Because I've known of some of the residents going without water for several hours because they had to put the landfill out. And we have a reserve. So if we sitting in a major explosion or fire break out, it's like a hop, skip, and a jump from our front door, as it is from the rest of the area. I would like please, for y'all to be able to get back in touch with us, write us some letters, let us know y'all have something set up to help us to, if we have to just leave, because it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Thank you.
I know, your representative and the mayor will, be the lead on that from the council, and I know other council members will, follow their lead, because we want to make sure that you all are safe and the environment is healthy.
Well, right now, it's the major thing. It's not only breathing, but it's the mental thing.
Right.
Not being able to lay down
That's
at night
true.
if you got to get up all of a sudden,
That's
you know?
true, and that's
Just
part of
like a tornado or hurricane, we feel the same way about the landfill.
That's part of being mentally healthy.
All right,
So we
thank
would do that. Please come up, and thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
My name is Ruth Pierce Mims. To the councilors.
And give us your address, please.
Glover.
Give us your address, please.
Sir?
Give us your address, please.
1842 Northside Road.
Okay.
I just want to say that the landfill is very unhealthy. I have chronic asthma. This little outfit here costs $300 and some, and my insurance has stopped paying for it. So not only it's because of this here that I'm asking for other people that is suffering just like I am behind the landfill. We all in that community is in danger, and we all are pleading for help. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up. I'm gonna pledge this to you personally. I got about 6 more months on the council, and this is gonna be my priority. I'm gonna bring this up at every council meeting, and we're gonna see if we can't get something done, because you all don't have any business living in America, living in the next best city in the South, to have to go through what you're going through. If it was on the Ellaby Road, you wouldn't have to be going through this, without any doubt. Now, I don't care what nobody say, but without any doubt, you would not be going through this. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Miss Annie Ely. Miss Ely, did your kids go to Lanier and? I thought so.
You remember the track star?
Yeah, that's what
No,
I
she
was
was a
like.
tennis player.
Yeah, tennis player, and very smart.
To all of the city council, and I say to all of you, my name is Annie Lee Lewis Ely. I live at 1712 Bunny Street in the MLK area, which I call all the time the Cooper Road. I've been up there for 51 years. I'm very comfortable living on the Cooper Road, at least I was. I love where I live. I'm just as proud as where I live as people that live in the gated areas. We take pride on our street where we live. Our children graduated from high school, from college. 2 of my sons served in the Navy. One of them served for 22 years. My daughter graduated from Lanier. 2 of my daughters graduated from Lanier. My concern is, I've been a healthy person all my life. Last year, the 21st day of July was the first time I had ever been sick. Now I'm 79 years old. At that time, I was 78. I had never been in the hospital sick in my life. But 2013 was the worst year of my life. To go to bed at night, smelling the fumes. I wish everybody in this room could have inhaled some of the stuff that I have. I just wish that on all of you. But at this time, I'm not only, the fumes are not my problem, but my eyes are watering now. My throat is dry. But what I'm afraid of now is my daughter said it's the mental state. I've already wrote out my funeral program. Already. Because if I stay there, even if I don't, the damage has been done now. You can close the landfill down now. I can't understand for the life of me is why that happened to us. You're proud of where you live. You keep your lawn, your yards cut, all my neighbors, we keep our yards cut. And my thing is, I go to bed at night and I ask the Lord to take care of us, because when the explosion comes, it's not just going to hurt us in that little area. Sometimes we feel when we don't have, it's not in my neighborhood, it's not next to me, but I guarantee you the water we drink out of Cross Lake, everybody in this city drank some of that water.
Go ahead on. Go on, Mr. Go on.
When I think about the water that Cross Lake, we don't know what's underground. I was told that it was buried 100 feet underground with the gas lines. If that fire hit one of those glass lines, everybody listen at me. If you live in Lakeside Acres, Cooper, Moortown, wherever you live, if that one of those pockets hit one of those pockets with the gas they are pulling out from under our property, the shale companies that getting all of the gas, what if it hit one of those pockets? That'll be a massive destruction on the Cooper Road, North Highlands, Lakeside Acres. It's just going to be a joint death. I just hope something can be done. I don't know what's going to be done because the damage is already done to us. Thank you.
Somebody else? Is there another person waiting to speak? I don't have another form here, but is there one more?
Frederick Ellis.
Mr. Ellis.
Mr. Frederick Ellis.
Good evening, Mayor Glover, Council.
And if you could state your address as well.
Fred Ellis, 1785 Jesse Owens Street. I guess I'm not familiar with y'all process. I don't come down here often, but my first 10 minutes, I saw an over-obsession with time, and I was listening to Councilman Shine, how he was hawking time, then I think about this landfill that's been there 20 years, and I was like, where have this obsession been over time? But then I sat here long enough, I said, okay, I'm familiar with the process. I guess he was trying to state a protocol. But I would have liked to have seen that obsession over the past 2 decades. Hopefully going forward, we can generate some of that. Now, I'm a local healthcare professional. I'm also an assistant professor at Southern University. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things I heard some of the other residents talk about that came before me. I heard them talk about those fumes. Well, let me tell you something about those fumes. Those are actually gases that you are breathing in and you are inhaling. Let me tell you some of the contents of them. Benzene, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, toluene, vinyl chloride, dioxins, various forms of methane, and all of them in one way or another they're either a respiratory irritant, like a lot of people talk about asthma and stuff like that, COPD, emphysema and stuff like that, or they are highly explosive. So when I heard a lady talk about possible explosion, that's definitely a possibility, especially if the concentration of those gases build up in your house. Okay, and then also more well-documented cancer-causing agents. Okay, now the question is, I have a couple questions because I looked through all the documents of the DEQ and some of the records. I did not see where an environmental assessment was done prior to approval of this landfill being put in operation. I didn't see that. I didn't see that documentation on public record where they did a assessment of the impact environmentally of this neighborhood by putting this landfill right there. okay? I also didn't see in the past 5 years where testing of soil, air, and land quality was done. I didn't see that. That was very disturbing in my view. I did not see that. Now, those gases and stuff I just mentioned a few minutes ago, those are things that would normally be produced and disseminated from a landfill such as that, normally. Now, now for the one we talk about now, take in consideration one that's been on fire for several years. So then now you need to multiply to the 10th power what I just said a minute ago. Now, I'm not going to stay alone. I'm going to adhere to the time protocol, but I think this process, just by me standing here, I'm disgusted. You know, I feel disgusted standing here and listening to these people come here and plead to this council for things that they shouldn't have to. Here in 2014, I think it's very disturbing, and it's probably my first time ever coming down here, and I'm just disgusted right now that I'm actually having to talk to you about something that I should not have to talk to you about. And I'm just going to be honest. I mean, if you show me a dump or a landfill in a white community anywhere in this country, and I will show you a polar bear that can ice skate backwards while eating a banana split.
Mr. Chairman.
Going on.
This got to be done. And it's got to be a matter of priority because, let me tell you right now, where the other lady was talking about the contaminated water. Yes, that landfill goes down 100 feet deep. But what's been happening is the landfill has been on fire. So what happens when it's on fire, all those protective layers, that when you had to put a layer, then put trash, then put a layer, all those protective layers and the liners that's designed to prevent the leachate from leaking out have been destroyed as a result of the fire. So is it contaminated water? It's inevitable if it have not already happened. So I'm going to leave that with you. I am disgusted that I'm sitting here having to talk to you about this. But hopefully going forward, Mayor Glover, I was very impressed with the compassion that he demonstrated at his meeting the other night. And I hope going forward that just as Councilman was hawking the time, we hawk this agenda. Because these people should not have to go through this. And this is bigger than the Cooper Road. When you take in consideration crosswind and all this stuff, this is a citywide problem. Because it don't take long for some of those particles to get in your alveolar ducts of your lungs, and you cannot breathe them out once they get there. Especially stuff like asbestos and all kind of stuff like that. Once it's there, it's there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, we appreciate you coming down and just stay on top of this. It's going to take all of us to make sure that we come up with a solution.
Did you know Leon Ellis, Mr. Shine?
He looked just like his daddy.
Mm-hmm. That's his son.
Right, he looked just like him. Mr. Bradford? I knew his daddy before he was born.
Yeah.
Because I'm not as old as the mayor, but...
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and to the mayor and to the council members. Willie Bradford, my office address is 4700 Hillary Huckabee Avenue in Shreveport. Let me start off by thanking the mayor and Councilwoman McCullough for coming and hosting and bringing valuable information to the residents of the MLK neighborhood on last Wednesday night. And I want to thank Councilman McCullough for sharing that exact information to those who was in attendance at a meeting that we hosted at the Willis Knighton Health and Education Center on Thursday night. I thought that was both was very, very well attended. Mr. Chairman, like Mr. Ellis, you have to be very disturbed and in apathy with the previous speakers. I think the mayor's letter to the governor is on point. I support it. I just hope that the governor understands the urgency of this matter. I really hope he does. Like the previous meeting on Wednesday night, we felt compelled as a health and education facility to bring in the residents to talk about some of the health-related issues that was being caused by this situation. We didn't get into a lot of the innuendos and finger pointing, because in my opinion, there's enough blame to go around anyway. So I said to those in attendance, let's move forward and try to see what we can do to help improve the health and well-being of the people in that community. So as you have heard, we debated a lot of things there, including some of the solutions that was presented here. And one of the solutions, and I think the most pertinent solution, is that we don't want that there no more. That plant is temporarily closed for 15 days, and I think the 15 days is almost up. But we want it permanently shut down. These residents should not be subject to the continuous exposure of the smoke and environmental hazards that is associated with not only that landfill, but the burning and the fire that's accompanying that landfill. Like the mayor said earlier, initially the landfill was for construction materials and trees and limbs and that kind of stuff. It has extended to something that we don't have a clue what's about, because I'm telling you now, trees and rocks don't burn black smoke. Something else is down there that's burning, and we just don't know what it is. So Dr. Daniels kind of told a lot of these people that they need to go get checked out, because some of the elements and chemicals and substances that they have been inhaling is very detrimental to their health. But as a health and educational manager, I need to tell you that regardless of getting checked, that's a temporary fix, because you cannot be healthy in an unhealthy community. You get checked out, you can get some treatment for your condition, but if you go right back and start inhaling that smoke again, those toxins, you're going to be back again. So I'm saying to you, as the elected body of this city, there's some things that you can do while we're waiting on the governor's response. There's some things that you can do. For instance, the 15-day temporary shutdown. Now, you got great minds here. Let's think about how we can create some legislation that could do something to keep it shut down a little bit longer. At least until the fire go out. I mean, the goal is permanent, but at least until the fire go out. We should not have to continue to fuel the fire by having people continue to dump materials in that landfill. Another thing that the roads, that Russell Road coming up to that dump site is torn completely up. I mean, you have to chase potholes to even get to our jobs and to our homes. Okay, that's an expense on the city. Something could be done about that. But more importantly, the fire department, as you heard, is constantly over there. I think they have been over there every day for the last month almost. Okay, that's extending the city resources to a situation that is beyond the control of the city. That's more than just our ordinary and normal responses. This man is contributing to the city resources being utilized, just like it is when my alarm in my house go off over 3 times, somebody's going to charge me and send me a fee. Okay, I think that once city resources has been reasonably expended, I think the homeowner or the business owner should bear some of their responsibility. You guys can look at that and try to put something together that would address that. We can't continually forever send fire trucks out there and cutting water off at people's houses just to try to reach a fire that's unreachable. That has to be eradicated in a way that the fire department cannot reach. Mr. Chairman, lady said enough is enough, and I'm saying I agree. But I think it's not only incumbent upon the mayor addressing the governor. I think you have a responsibility. You can legislate something. You can come up with something that could help these residents and help us to permanently get this, not only this hazardous toxin-making plant out of our community, but to also save the city valuable resources that will be needed for the residents of this city, and we cannot continue to allow this to happen. I appreciate, again, all the involvement that is being given to this effort. We are committed, Willis Land Health System and our clinic on the MLK area, as well as David Raines. They partnered with us in hosting that meeting, trying to get the residents educated on the dangers that are affected. And I think you heard those dangers, and it would be negligent upon you to hear the pleas of this crowd and yet feel like that there's nothing you can do. I think the apathy and the passion that you heard should trickle into your hearts, into your minds, and help get some relief for the citizens of Shreveport. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bradford, we appreciate you coming down, and we're going to look for you to continue to come down. I know we've taken a lot of time, but we took more time than this with Calvin Grigsby.
Thank you.
And Calvin doesn't even live in this city.
Mr. Shine.
Yes.
If you will allow me to kind of piggyback on his remark as far as this body coming up with something, I do recall, and it was just brought to my attention at the meeting that was held at the Willis Knighton facility, our fire department expressed that it is not within our authority to do that. Because it is permitted by the state. It is within the state's authority to come up with something. So I wanted to just kind of insert that, because what I don't want the people to leave here believing is that it's something that at the end of the day, yes, the city council can help us. But again, we have to be reminded, as the mayor has iterated, is that this landfill and landfills, period, are permitted by the state. Okay, and what we do, we issue violations. And so I don't know that it's anything beyond what the mayor has done today. And again, thank you, Mayor Glover. I don't know if there's anything that this council as a body can legislate to force the landowner to pay a fee. If the state is permitting this guy to operate, and once we cite him for violations, then the state, we have representatives, senators, state representatives that should be speaking that language, or that should be addressing that. You have been cited, you have had X number of violations as the record shows or reflects from the city. Now you need to pay up or shut down. So I don't want you all leaving here thinking, oh yeah, well, that man was right. The city does need to do something. The mayor has gone far and beyond what he was supposed to do, because we do have state representatives. We do have state senators. And please, let's not disregard that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the city attorney, is she in?
She stepped out for a second, Mr. Shine.
I'm going to ask her and Julie if you all can look at if it's possible for us to do anything. And if not, Mr. Bradford, we might have to do like we used to do during the civil rights era, when they said nothing could be done. For some reason, I'm not one of those that would buy into nothing can be done. I think it's something that can be done, and I would ask our city attorneys to look into the possibility to see if something can be done from the council standpoint, and if there's nothing can be done from the council standpoint. Mr. Bradford, you and Pastor Mays are going to have to come up with a solution like people did during the civil rights era, because people are getting sick and they're dying, and we just can't wait around and say, well, ain't nothing we can do. Let's go into the zoning, and I'm sorry we took so much time, but this is a very, very important issue. Like I said, we took more time with this with other issues, with Calvin Grigsby and with others who isn't about people dying. I know we'll put him later. Mr. William.
I was going to ask before we left this.
Mr. Mayor, I hope you, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I hope you can make it short, because we have some people that's been sitting out there for a long time, And what we'll do, Mr. Mayor, if you want to, we'll come back later on if it's on this. Go ahead on, make a few
I'll make it
statements,
brief,
and then
Mr.
we'll
Shine.
come back later on.
I want to thank all the folks who have come out today to express their thoughts and share their concerns. I want you all to know that my ears have been open and attuned to this issue for more than 2 decades. I'm glad to see that we are now starting to get some traction and getting some attention and bringing some needed focus to this issue. I also want to let you know that I appreciate the expressed interest on the part of some to say that even if we don't have any means at our hands here at the local level, that some are even willing to engage in acts of civil disobedience. Without question, there was a time in our history when those things were needed, and they may still be needed today. But Pastor, they were needed at a time when you did not have representation on the city council, in the legislature, in the mayor's office, in the governor's mansion. And the only way in which you could manage to be able to effectively get the attention of the folks whose hands were on the levers of power was that you had to engage in those types of acts. That is not the case today. We have moved forward in many respects. The problem and the challenge, I think, is in line with what was referenced by Councilwoman McCullough, and that is there are those who are in these positions that have not been attuned and in line with the issues, the concerns, and ultimately the cries of the people who are impacted. I think the history of this situation details and documents that. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. Out of all the folks who have spoken, from Ms. Rogers and Ms. Humphrey and everybody else, I have to give a specific expression of thanks and appreciation to Mrs. Ely for coming out and sharing. Mr. Shine, Mrs. Ely is a longtime resident of the neighborhood, but she's not just a resident just like the rest of these folks. She has also been a leader. Her leadership has manifested itself in many ways, not the least of which of her being the den mother for my Cub Scout troop at Northside Elementary School, where her son, Russell Ely, who's 2 years older than I am, but was always a sharp, smart, intelligent young man who was also my teammate.
Right.
And had the nickname Wildfire. I know he has served 2+ decades in the Navy, serving our country, defending our country. Please, Mrs. Ely, and especially hearing you express the fact that you were blessed with 78 years of outstanding health, knowing the challenges that my mother has had in her 80, to know that it's possible to live as long as you have, but to know that within the last year that your health has been greatly challenged because of these circumstances.
Thank you.
Only deepens my resolve. So thank you for coming out today, and thank you to all of you for coming out and sharing. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, because Miss Ely, I can tell him I knew you when he was a little boy running around on the Cook Road, even before he got to know you and the kids. I taught them, and they were all extremely smart. And again, we appreciate you all coming down, and I will promise to you all that this will be a priority for me. I will mention this at every council meeting coming up, and like I say, if it's nothing we can do on the council, there are some things that we can do that would bring this problem to the attention of the federal government, and that's what we need to do. Mr. Dukes, would you please come forward? Dykes, I'm sorry.
By the way, don't you want to call for the vote on this particular issue
Yeah,
that
I
we've been?
sent a note to see if we
I
can
thought
go
we,
ahead and
okay,
talk.
I thought we had voted on it, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm just, since they're all staying here.
Yeah,
we'll
please, let's-
Move for resolution 110.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? It's been moved by Councilwoman McCullough, second by Councilman Carvin and Jenkins. All in favor, vote yes, opposed is no. All right, with a 5-vote, 2 out of the chambers. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, council members. And know that I did have a chance to meet with EPA Regional Administrator Ron Curry with the Environmental Protection Agency. He's aware of the situation. They are engaged, and hopefully we won't have to.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, but let's move on. These folks have been here, and we appreciate those of you who came off the Cooper Road for this. Just let's keep up the fight, and we've been, Is that Mr. William Dykes? Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am William Dykes. I live at 942 Thora, Thora Boulevard in Shreveport. Speaking on the zoning variation issue at 935 Thora Boulevard. Thora Boulevard, some of you know this, some may not if you don't live in the area. One end of it starts at the Norton Art Museum, and it runs down a hill and across Line Avenue. Then it runs up a hill until you get to Fairfield Avenue. It's a pretty long street. There are a lot of houses on that street. I live at 942 Thor Boulevard, which is pretty much right across the street from the particular subject that we're talking about here, 935 Thor. I grew up in this house, the one I live in now. I was born in 1948. That makes me 66. Seen a lot of things in that time. In this house at 935 Thorham, to my knowledge, is the largest residence on the street. I think it is somewhere close to 6,000 square feet. It is a huge residence. The particular proposal is to add an additional roughly 2,300 square feet. So we're talking something 8,000 feet here now, which includes a rather substantial living area as well as a 3-car garage in addition to the garage that already exists. Unfortunately, Senator Jackson Davis, who was here earlier today along with his wife, had to leave, couldn't stay, had prior commitments. But I used to grow up in his front yard, and he used to tell me and some of the other people who lived there a lot of stories about things that happened when he was in the legislature, like some of the conversations he had with Governor Earl Long. He was the only guy I know that was actually at Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Pretty fascinating guy. I think he's somewhere between 95 and 100 now. And as you can see from his presence here today, he still gets around pretty well. And it was his suggestion to me that he said, Bill, I really think that what needs to happen here is that the council needs to remand this matter back to the Metropolitan Planning Commission for a rehearing. That was his suggestion to me. He would have made it himself, but prior commitments didn't allow and just took more time to dispose of other matters than we had counted on. But I really believe that the proposed variation here is at variance with the neighborhood as a whole. And I can tell you that you can look at the petition. There are a number of people that have signed it. And I hope you will consider their wishes and desires just as you have in connection with this landfill that you heard earlier. The people that live there matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you go, any questions?
Just the one, and I understand, what would we be remanding it? I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the goal of remanding it would be. And I don't, I mean, obviously if we deny whether it be the appeal or support the appeal, and then it would go back to the MPC staff to make sure it complies with the ordinances as they're currently written and not granted this exemption, what would remanding it do?
Well, generally, I'm a lawyer, and generally remanding is where a higher court remands to a lower court for some sort of additional proceedings. Often it involves taking evidence, and that's what I thought would probably be involved here. And I don't really know what kind of evidence the MPC took initially on this, or did they take evidence? Did they interview people? Did people come down there and testify? I don't really know. But I would say this, if you, Councilman, if you really ask me what I would like to have, as opposed to what Senator Davis was suggesting, I'd like to have you basically reject the variation. Absolutely say that this is out of character with the neighborhood, and it shouldn't happen, and the application for variance is denied. That's what I urge.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, I didn't know if there was some solution that you had thought of in this remanding it back to the ZBA in this case, and that was my real question. And
I understand your question. I'm sorry I didn't make it clear. I was really trying to be faithful to what Senator Davis said, but my views are, as I previously stated, I think the application should be rejected.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we have Mr. Is this Mr. Tone? McNeely. Please, sir. Who else is after Mr. McNeely? Okay, well, seemed like you might be the last one then, Mr. McNeely.
We have...
That's what I was asking. Who? Okay, you'll be next.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom McNeely. I live at 911 Thora Boulevard, and I'm the neighbor on the east side of the property that is the subject of this appeal. I'm appealing the approval of the special exception use in case BAC 35-14, and I ask that you reverse the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the following reasons. 1, Thora Boulevard is a beautiful single-family neighborhood in the South Highlands Historic District. The houses are the centerpieces of their lots, having significant green space on each side. Most of the houses have two-car garages positioned in the back of their properties, out of sight unless it's a carport. 2, rather than being a secondary residential dwelling for which the special exception use was intended, such as a garage apartment, the proposed building really is another single-family residence on the same lot. The structure is proposed to have 2,162 square feet under roof with a living room, dining room, kitchen, bedroom and 2 additional sleeping areas, laundry facilities, and a 3-car garage. It is so large that it encroaches on the 10-foot easement of their east property line. 3, the proposed building is in full view of Thora and includes an enlarged driveway with 2 additional parking spaces positioned up to my property line. 4, the principal impact consideration for approval of a secondary residential dwelling according to section 106-240 of the City Code is neighborhood compatibility. The proposed structure is not compatible with the neighborhood because 1, it changes the pattern and proportions between structures in the green space by significantly reducing the green space as compared to the footprint of the buildings. 2, it makes this huge structure, including the garage, more visible from the street than any other home in the boulevard. And 3, it makes the secondary structure a more prominent feature than any other home on Thora. Last year, you adopted the Shreveport Historic Preservation Ordinance. Thora Boulevard is in the South Highlands Historic District and therefore is subject to that preservation ordinance. The purposes of that preservation ordinance, according to section 36-1, include encouraging new development that is compatible with and that will strengthen the historic properties. Because of the inconsistencies with the existing development, this special exception use does not satisfy that criteria. The Zoning Board of Appeals did not limit the use of the structure to family members only. Thus, it could be rented to a non-family member, and this would be a significant change in the use of the property. At the very least, you should modify the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeal to limit the use of the structure to family members only. The special exception use as proposed clearly breaks the single-family residential continuity of Thora Boulevard and is inconsistent with the goals of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. Please reverse the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals and deny this special exception use. Since I supplied the information to your clerk of council, I have another 3 signatures that oppose this particular structure. And if you can look at the architectural renderings that were supplied, again, in my information, if you'll take a look at the bird's eye view of the residence, the only thing that exists on the property behind the house is a 2-car garage. So On the schematic drawings, there's a swimming pool, a bathhouse, an arbor area that does not exist. The owners of the property want to create enough space to put all that in there. So, any questions for me?
I would just like to say one thing, and this is something that I was asking Jeff Everson for informational purposes. It's technically true about being part of the historic preservation ordinance, but the neighborhood has not adopted any criteria. So, though it is governed by this ordinance, there is no criteria of which to judge it on based that. And my comment is really for you, all of us who live in that neighborhood, to urge our neighborhood association to pass some kind of code that it can be judged against. So, just for a technical reference, it is not, you could bring it to Preservation Historic Society, but they don't have any code to judge it against, so.
Correct. But it's the intent of the ordinance to follow this continuity concept.
Yes, I mean, I agree with that. I'm just saying that maybe there's things that we have takeaways for all of us if we're interested in pursuing this.
Any other questions?
Not at this point in time. The other gentleman, we do
Thank
not
you for
have
your
a slip
time.
for you, but please come forward and give us your name and
Thank you,
yeah.
Council. John Lawrence, 960 Thora Boulevard. I've lived on Thora Boulevard for almost 20 years now, and as far as a historical perspective, I didn't know this until yesterday, but that actual part of Thora Boulevard between Fairfield and down towards South Highland is the oldest street in Shreveport, paved street in Shreveport. And if as far as, from a, I look at this thing about, there's our neighbors and the people that oppose it, which is just about the whole neighborhood. But in this particular case, I think the integrity and preservation in the neighborhood is forefront beyond any neighbor. And, because the neighbors are going to come and go on this street, but what's really important here is the aesthetic preservation and historical perspective of the neighborhood. And the stretch between Fairfield Avenue and down to Thornhill, there's about 12 houses on that stretch. And none of us oppose remodels or additions to your house or those type of things, but this is basically, in a nutshell, it's basically putting a house in between two houses. If you look at the plans, and the neighborhood just does, none of us want to look at that. It's going to kill the neighborhood. It's going to kill forever. It's almost like destroying a natural forest, part of it, and you can't get that back once it happens, so, thank you.
You have no questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe we have come to...
Now, let me ask, so this is Mr. Romer.
Okay.
He could speak now, or he could speak now and we'll take up the issue, however
Is
you
it
want.
about the same issue?
Same exact issue.
Okay, well, we'll let him speak, although he didn't sign. Generally, we have a procedure that we try to follow, but we're gonna...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was sitting in my house not 10 minutes ago, watching it on TV, and I was trying to follow the agenda, and I guess I slipped up somewhere along the way, and so I piled in the car, drove out here.
Jumped all around today, so it was hard to follow.
But I appreciate the time, the consideration.
Give us your name and address.
Franklin Romer, 935 Thora Boulevard. And, we've struggled with this for a long time. I didn't realize we had such a neighborhood that was so against what we were trying to do. I mean, I'll give you a little perspective. Been in the house 13 years. I've got 4 kids, raising from 18 to 8. And so we're there, and we want to be a part of the community there for a long time, and we want to invest in the neighborhood. And so this particular house was built by the developer, August Goldstein, in 1929. And he had, where my house sits on the lot, it had the adjacent house, which is Jack Shuey's house, as a part of the original plot, and then the land went back to the adjacent street. So it went all the way through from Thora all the way to the back, and you can even see from my upstairs balcony. You can see the old garage apartment that the driver used to have back in the 20s. And so, but as time went on, and Goldstein lost some of his money, I guess. He started trading some of the lots along there as depression went on, and so this lot became smaller and smaller. And then the next generation went through there, the Kings. They ultimately sold our next door neighbor lot, and we're left with a carved up piece of property that had no backyard. We have a huge front yard, huge side yard, but no front yard. No backyard. And that's really the only thing that we're trying to do is move our existing detached garage, oversized garage, and move it up to the back of our house. That's essentially the only thing that we're doing. Now, change is very difficult. I know we live in a very conservative neighborhood. Doesn't want any change on anything, but there's sometimes improvement is also good. And hopefully we can all live together. And what I'm trying to do there is put together something that looks like it was designed for the lot that I'm on now, that looks like it's always been there. And so that's why I've engaged a prominent architect to design this, to make it look like it's been there. It's supposed to be there. And really, we were just trying to get a backyard out of it and put a pool in for the kids. The bunkhouse on top of the garage came about where my wife, Christy, her mom has a similar arrangement at her house. And so we use it the grandkids use it, the kids coming back for Christmas holidays. So, I mean, it's not a hugely important thing to us to have that accommodation, but that's really all it was. We were building a garage to fit 3 cars. We got 4 drivers in the family, and to actually get a backyard out of our house. And so we've placed it, at the back portion of our house, that is over 100 feet, 120 feet from the curb, which is a lot further than most all the garages, whether they're in the side of the house or the back of the house. That's kind of the position we have, is where we have over 100 feet. I mean, our house is in a pie-shaped lot, and we have a whole lot of side and front yard, and we're trying to get a backyard out of it. So, any questions?
I don't have any. I mean, he and I have spoken.
Okay. If it's your desire, I will.
I would like to, since everybody's here and they've been here long enough, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and take up ordinance, or what number are we? Excuse me.
It's BAC 3514.
Okay, the motion has been made by Councilman Jenkins, and I know it was seconded by Councilman Carbon, did I hear that?
I was just waiting to hear that motion.
Whether,
I'd like to make a motion to take a BAC 35.
Suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules, if we haven't done that yet.
Right, okay. All in favor vote yes, opposed is no. The rules have been suspended with the 7-0 vote. Now we
I'd
have a
like to take
motion.
up a motion to at least discuss BAC 3514 at this moment in time. And I'd like, I'm happy to take feedback, at least from other council members, or if the parties in question are interested in opining, I'd certainly listen to it. But
Now, do you want the motion to move it up just for discussion, or you want to move up so we can vote on it since they've been here?
okay, well, I mean, I'd like to move it up to vote, but I have to make sure what my motion is on the vote first. So I guess I'm making a motion to discuss it at this moment in time. I mean, I can propose let me do that, okay?
You'll have an opportunity to discuss it before we vote on it.
What I'm saying, but I'll
Right.
put this motion out there subject to any amended
Okay.
motions. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so,
It's been moved by Councilman Oliver Jenkins, second by,
Sean, I think he has a
I
specific.
have to give my specific motion.
I
This is
thought
kind
that
of
was- okay.
my issue right now, but I'll do it anyways if we're going to proceed down this path. Okay, so I'd like to modify the ZBA's decision as follows. I would like to propose, first of all, the approval of a secondary residential structure above the garage is reversed. Secondly, grant a variance in the number of detached accessory structures to permit the addition of a garage and a secondary access structure, an enclosed bathroom in a portion as follows: 450 square feet on the garage and the bathroom not to exceed 100 square feet. And then third part of my motion is the approval is subject to the MPC staff approving a revised site plan showing the garage and open-air pool house, and no permits shall be issued until that revised site plan has been approved by the planning director of the ZBA.
you've heard the motion?
Okay,
And the second? Any further discussion at this point?
I have some, so yeah, let me start with
There you
that.
go. That's what I said. All
Okay.
right, now
That's
we
what
get to that.
So now we're at the meat of this.
Right,
Okay.
there you go.
Michael Corbin did it. Okay, first thing, Stephen Jean. Currently, 450 square foot accessory structure does not require ZBA approval, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so 450, so that's not even a requirement on the variance. The variance that I'm giving them is 2 structures.
Well, actually, all the structures could not exceed 450 square feet, so you still have to grant the variance on the 100 square foot.
Okay, so I am granting that variance.
Right.
My intent here is, for those that haven't looked at this site plan closely, it's got a secondary structure that is predominantly open air, but there is a bathroom that is enclosed, and so that's why it requires a secondary accessory structure. Okay,
Right.
so that's the intent of that. My intent on the garage is to keep it at 450 square foot as if that was the only structure that he was presenting, so he does not require a variance for that. That's my intent. Now, I realize the fact that there's 2 of them requires a variance, but that's the intent of my motion. Now, I certainly will entertain discussion from anybody that's interested in talking about it at this point.
I wanted to inquire, if I may, Mr. Chairman, that was mentioned by one of the gentlemen when he was up here, something about he was over the, 10 feet over the,
Setback, or the
yeah.
east side easement. It looks like this proposed 2-story garage goes right up to the
Property line.
setback on what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too, so that's what, on the setback, so. So would the MPC be approving him being over the setback?
Okay, he can answer this question. It's a technical issue, and there's,
Yeah.
whether we agree or disagree there, the subject matter expert.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any encroachment into the setback from what I can do in analyzing that plan. You're allowed to, by ordinance, to have projections that exceed into the setback. There's a section in the ordinance that talks about that. If you have roof overhangs and things of that nature, are allowed to extend into the required setback distance, and it's not counted as an actual encroachment. All that's required is, for the two-story structure, is 10 feet. They're showing on that plan, as you will see, that the corner of the building is right at the 10 feet. The fact that you may have additional encroachments in roof lines is allowed for in the ordinance. The parking or drive that you may see that goes into the area, that is allowed because it is not a structure. So there is no encroachment that I'm aware of in the building setback.
So the parking is not an encroachment.
Parking's not an encroachment.
And then that's the entryway. And this goes out to, I'm just trying to understand the site plan a little better. I've heard it, I've looked at it, but it's a little, there's so many moving parts, it's a little hard to to get a real picture in my head of what this looks like. This driveway that comes into the to the garage that was originally proposed with a residence on top, that comes directly from Thora, right? And then there's parking at the side, and this is on the, I guess if you're looking at it, the western side of the
Eastern side, but the left-hand side, you're correct.
Oh, got it, okay.
It's on the south side of the street, so I've got it.
Okay. And then, I guess I'm just trying to picture the lot, because, so the open air and the pool are on the other side, and those are to the back of the property, right? Those
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. That is helpful.
This is the way when Franklin talked about how they cut it out, this is kind of what they...
And you see what Councilman Oliver Jenkins was speaking of, is you notice that it says proposed open-air pool house. And so the area that is actually enclosed is where you see the restroom. It's hard to see at this scale.
That small, dark...
Right. That's the area that would, and basically, if this structure, if it was submitted with a 450 square foot gross between the two accessory structures, it would be in compliance. But what's a little confusing is what you're looking at here is right now is considered a secondary residential as it was approved by the ZBA because it has the apartment space above. So when we had to look at this again, we began to say, okay, well, you have this garage now becomes an accessory structure, and you can't have more than 450 foot total of accessory structure on the property. So the variant, there would be, the way it's proposed in this motion, is you would have a variance of 100 feet, which would account for the enclosed space that we talked about a moment ago at the bath. Yes, sir.
And then Oliver's motion was to basically allow the garage, but not the apartment above? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not allowing a residential,
Secondary
residential structure. Now,
sorry,
what
my
they
word.
choose, that's a little bit different there's some latitude there.
Gene, I'm taking into consideration that the MPC board had a chance to go and look at this in person.
ZBA.
I mean,
No,
ZBA.
what I would tell you, sir, that we used to have those bus tours, and you do recall that.
Right.
We had, what we do now, we actually do take photographs of those sites, and they have real-time photographs that they look at, but they don't actually go to each site as you once recall. But that was a standard practice. Over the years, that was very sparsely attended. We have talked to the boards about reinstating that. So we do other methods. We use satellite technology. We use our staff members go out and take photographs, and they actually have photographs that they look at. So that, they were able to see what's going on, but they weren't actually stepping foot on the property. And some of them, though, I will say, many of our members actually take it upon themselves to go by. I couldn't tell you unequivocally that each member actually saw the site, but I know a number of them were familiar with it.
Gene, I would hope that situations that are this important, and seems like where you have so much technicality with it, the members would take time to go out and look at this in person, and I know
I believe we have individuals that do, yes, sir.
And looked at this in person, because this impacts the lives of people, and this is very important. And I would hope that I don't know whether the CAO would have anything to do with it, but I would hope that in the future that you would encourage, and if there is some expense, Mr. CAO, I would hope that we would look at it and see if we couldn't appropriate some funds so that these people could go out and they would be in a position to make an intelligent decision. Because I know if I was involved in this, I'd like for you to come out and look at it.
Mr. Chair.
Photograph and maps are good, but we're here to provide services for our citizens, and I think we need to look at that. And I'm not blaming you for this, because it probably will stop even before you moved into where you are. But let me stop you 1 minute. I saw a hand back there, and I know it's very important to you. Would you come up, and we don't generally do this, but I know it's important to you. Come up and see if you understood.
Yeah, Tom McNeely, 911 Thora. I want to see if I understand what Mr. Jenkins said. All right, so you're approving the bathhouse as yeah.
I mean, just frankly, that to me should have such little impact on any of the neighbors. If somebody's going to...
I'm just trying to figure it all out. And then you are approving a garage of a maximum size of 450 square feet.
As the ordinance allows already. That is not really subject to a variance at all.
No. So everything sounds good to me.
Okay. Now, I don't know how it sounds to Mr. Romer back there, but...
Mr. Romer, speak now, forever hold your peace, as you get married to this.
450 square feet, that's, it's less than what I have right now, which is, I'm looking for a 3-car garage on the side of the back side of my property that is located well back from just about everybody else's garage. And done in a very professional way. I'm willing to concede, if I need to, the apartment, which was basically a bunkhouse for future grandkids. Well, I may not have any grandkids, so that's not the biggest deal in the world. It's more important to my wife, and hey, it may save me some money. But yeah, I'm interested in having a 3-car garage. And pretty...
How many square foot would a 3-car garage be?
I think it was 840 square feet.
Went out there.
4-car garage.
I mean, and I'll say this, and let me, so we're clear, and I want to make this clear. And Franklin, I consider him my friend. I mean, we have kids the same age. This is not an easy decision. And I say that honestly, and said that to these residents in the beginning. I just think there is a lot of merit about what is currently existing on that street and how everybody is set up. And I think in this case, other than the bathhouse, which I don't really think is an impediment to the future growth of, or character change of the street, I do feel a structure of this size of 850 square feet is a significant change. Now, we'll tell you, the risk is, and this is something that I've shared with them, is the moment it attaches itself to the House, it's out of our hands, okay? And I know that's going to cost you obviously a lot more expense, and it's a whole different dynamic for you. But I think to keep us in a manner in which we're consistent on how we see things here, we need to stay within the constraints of our ordinances, granting exceptions when they're, in my opinion, not really significant or impact. So that's the nature of why I've come up with this motion. And as you can tell by it, I've spent a fair amount of time on how to craft it, because it is not an easy deal. But that's how I got to where I am. And, I think the opportunity, as part of that criteria in the end, getting back in front of the MPC staff or the ZBA as appropriate, I think there's some opportunity to discuss what you can do in line with our ordinances today. So that's the nature of my motion, though I do understand this is not exactly what you had hoped for, but, try to stay as detached from this as possible. And I do live about 250 feet away from this house, so I'm quite familiar with it.
Yeah, so Oliver's against me too, now, it looks like.
No, I'm not against you. I'm just saying I'm for this particular proposal.
Yeah, so basically, it kind of runs in, so I'm giving, I think, the idea, again, is to have a backyard. If you come by Thora any day, I got a soccer goal in the front yard. I got all my kids out playing every day. I was there last night till 9 o'clock. And I'm the guy in the front yard. Because I love the front yard, but I would also like the opportunity to be in the backyard sometimes. Right now, if you look at the site plan, put a garage back there and a driveway, and there is no backyard. That's where I am today. So all I'm doing is I'm moving what I have up to the side of my house, and I'm conceding to take down the structure so it's a lot smaller. That's what I'm trying to do. And then, if I can't do that, then I get into this area of, well, why don't I just attach it? It's not that hard to attach it, and I get what I want. And I'm trying to be thoughtful and careful about, I didn't realize I had all of this angst with my neighbors, which I need to go visit with them about as well. And I don't want to upset the entire apple cart here. But, there's a way around the situation for us, then we're trying to be thoughtful, and it looks a lot better detached than it does attached. That's really the only reason. That's not a cost thing. It looks a lot better on the site. Because if you look at my house right now, it's on the extreme western side of the property because they sold the lot. And there's the house that is 5 feet from my property line that's a 3,000 square foot house that is right there. So I got 100 feet on the other side. I'd like to just put my garage there and have a little bit of a backyard. So again, I understand your position, Oliver. I appreciate it, so.
And by the way, now I'm not an architect. I did a little handy measuring here. 450 feet can work for a 3-car garage. Now, it's not going to be palatial, three part, but it is a possibility looking at these ones online. Now, I'm not the architect. I'm not saying it fixes all your problems. I'm just saying there is potential for it.
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Mr. Romer, you seem to be a great father like Dale Sibley over there. I've been told that he's out in the front yard playing soccer and basketball with his 8 kids. Did I get
Grandkids at this point.
Okay, and his grandkids. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Romer. Councilman, are you ready for us to?
A motion's out there.
Okay.
And I think I have a second.
All right. I
Last
call
I
for the
recall,
vote.
though,
Let's vote on it. This motion passes with a 7-0 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you all coming down, and this is what democracy is all about. It's not easy, but it's the best in the world. I don't care where you go, you can't beat democracy. Although, we can't make the Iraqis and those people over there agree to it. But, this is the best in the world. We appreciate you all coming down. You all are the people that keep us here, and Shreveport is about doing what's right for our citizens. Sometimes it's a little tug and a little give and take, and some will go home and not really be satisfied, and some will go home and be satisfied, but we try to do our best, and this is the best form of government that I know anywhere. God bless you. Thank you. Come back again sometime. All right. Mr. Thompson, you got a very sharp mind, so let's move back to where we are.
I believe that we are about to move into adopting legislation.
Excuse me.
Actually,
Confirmations on a point.
yeah.
All right.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion.
it has been moved and second been moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Oliver Jenkins, that we would confirm the appointments that have been given to us by the administration. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed is no. Those persons have been, is that him in the back?
No, and we'd like to call him forward just so that
Please,
council has an opportunity.
please.
Patrick, please come forward.
But Chad, while he's coming forward,
Robert.
it was to confirm the appointment of Mr. Patrick Furlong, PE, as Assistant City Engineer.
Yes. Patrick?
He spoke to us yesterday, so
He sure did.
we've seen the quality of his work and his patience to
There
sit
you
through
go.
this. Yeah.
Very good.
There
Very
you
good.
go. Well, see, Dale is gonna give him a little overtime for sitting through
I
this.
hope those appointments are.
Going for Mr. Pesnick.
Well, now,
He's a salary folks.
well, now, man, all lawyers.
Every minute counts.
Mr. Chairman, if you would allow Robert just to present
Yes,
you
Robert.
a little background on Patrick.
Mayor Glover, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I'm here to seek confirmation of the appointment of Patrick Furlong as an Assistant City Engineer for the City of Shreveport. Patrick is a graduate of LSU in Baton Rouge in engineering. He's received his license certification. He is allowed to practice engineering in the state of Louisiana. He's been doing so for approximately 10 years in various functions, the last 3.5 years being for the City of Shreveport. During his 3.5 years, he's worked very closely with Ali Mustafa, who y'all are very familiar with. Patrick has recently completed his training and certification as a floodplain administrator. Is that correct? That's correct. That is correct. Over the last 3.5 years, I think that Patrick has demonstrated the ability and the character to handle the duties and responsibilities of an assistant city engineer. Therefore, it is my honor to present him to y'all for confirmation. Patrick?
Patrick?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, thank you for considering this appointment. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Sibley, thank you for making the appointment. I appreciate it. I have been here for about 3.5 years working for the city. I've enjoyed it. I was born and raised here in Shreveport. Appreciate Robert's support and his mentoring and Ali's mentoring. And anybody have any questions?
Patrick, we'd love to have you on. Let's vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, it's been confirmed with a 7-0 vote. All right, Mr. Thompson, we're gonna ask you to move on, please.
All right, Resolution 104 authorizes 1114 Laurel Creek Drive to connect to the water and sewer system.
It's been moved by Councilman Carmen, second by Councilman Jenkins, that is Oliver Jenkins. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed is no. This legislation passes with a 7-0 vote.
We're now under resolutions on second reading and final passage. Number 96 affirms the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Home Federal Bank to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program.
Pleasure. It's been moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Mike Carmen. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed is no. Legislation passes with a 7-0 vote.
Number 97, affirms the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Petroleum Building LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana
It's been moved by Councilman Jeff Everson, second by Councilman Mike Corbin. Any questions or discussion? There was the previous subject of a public hearing. All in favor vote yes, opposed is no. Legislation passes with a 7-0 vote.
102, ratifies the use of certain equipment by Urban Support Agency.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Corbin. Did I? Oliver, you and Mike sound so much alike. 7-0 vote.
103.
Greg Morrison, these two guys sound so much alike until I get them confused sometimes. You know how that is.
103, authorizes the mayor to execute a donation agreement between the City of Shreveport and Juniper Builders.
So moved.
For
It's been moved by Councilman
Second.
Corbin, second by Councilman Jenkins this time. That is Oliver Jenkins. All in favor vote yes, opposed is no. Sam, I have to make that distinction here.
Please do.
Okay.
7-0 vote. 105,
Yes.
declares the city's interest in certain adjudicated properties as surplus. It's districts A and F.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilwoman Rose McCullough, second by Councilman Sam Jenkins. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor vote yes. 7-0 vote. Legislation passes.
Sorry about that.
106, declares the city's interest in certain adjudicated property as surplus. These are in districts A, B, C, and G.
It's been moved by the chair, second by
Second.
Councilman Oliver Jenkins. Any questions? If not, all in favor vote yes. 7-0 vote. Legislation passes.
107, rejects bids received for IFB number 14-035.
Moved by the chair, second by Councilman Everson. Any questions? If not, let's vote. Legislation passes with the 7-0 vote.
108 has been adopted. 109, finding and determining the necessity and advisability of amending the Articles of Incorporation of the Industrial
Been
Development.
moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Corbin. Any questions? If not, all in favor vote yes and no. Legislation passes with the 7-0 vote.
Well, I didn't get it, well,
Sam Jenkins?
I didn't get the vote in. I want a little more clarification on the ID.
We do have Mr. Darren Dixon representing IDB here today.
I
and
thought he was gonna come make some,
He's prepared to do so.
Come on
Darren
up there.
come on.
thought he was going to get by.
Well, I'll say as he makes his way up here, I do think this represents a step towards having another great tool in our economic development tool belt, so. It is a.
Dale, the two of y'all kind of favor a little bit. Both of y'all got big eyes.
Mr.
He
Chairman,
has more hair than Dale.
Yeah, he's
He
got
has
a little
more hair
more
than Dale. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Darren represents one of the folks who was actually in attendance at that secret clandestine meeting that was held 2 weeks ago today.
Darren, we're not gonna get you involved in that. Go ahead on.
And I won't comment on the catfish we had.
Yeah. Go ahead on.
Of course, my name is Darren Dixon. I'm representing the IDB board in reference to the resolution you have before you. We saw this as a good tool for the city and for economic development purposes to entice, encourage business growth through being able to do more things. Traditionally, and I've just been on the board a few months or less than a year, but traditionally we just take care of the North Shreveport Park and a parking garage. But the articles and the revised statute give us a whole lot more latitude to do things and I guess present certain tactics to entice economic development, and we want to be able to do that for the city.
Thank you. Done a fine job. I believe we voted.
Well, sir, I need Mr. Oliver Jenkins and Mr.
What-
Sam.
and Sam, did you get
Sound
your
like you still had a
questions answered, or, I'll just say just briefly, you know, in the time that I've worked with various economic development institutions, it is relatively uncommon to have an industrial development board whose activity is limited to an industrial park. Generally, the boundaries are the city, same boundaries as the city has. And so allowing it to do that allows the Industrial Development Board to act as a catalyst for things like a pilot pilot programs that would provide incentives for development and things like that. So my understanding is that this would make some adjustments to make the boundaries outside of just the industrial park and expand it to the city, which is common in most industrial development boards.
Mayor, and then we'll ask Sam. Sam, are your questions being answered?
Industrial development boards, as they are generally enacted, end up having a jurisdiction that covers the boundaries of whichever particular agency or entity has instituted it. For the city of Shreveport, that would, under other circumstances, be the city limits or the boundaries of the city of Shreveport. For Caddo Parish, it's the boundaries of Caddo Parish, and other cities, it is similar. When the city of Shreveport enacted or stood up its industrial development board in 1981, it limited those activities specifically to the North Shreveport Industrial Park up off of Hillary Huckabee Drive, and to a 525 or 535 parking garage, which they've since divested themselves of, I guess, to the DSDC maybe, I'm not quite sure. But it's no longer one of the activities. So at this point, the activities or the jurisdiction of the Shreveport Industrial Development Board is limited just to the North Shreveport Industrial Park. We do that jointly with Caddo Parish and their Industrial Development Board. The desire is to, as the statute affords, based upon an action of the governing body, to broaden that area of jurisdiction to match up with the city limits and boundaries of the city of Shreveport.
So they can do projects throughout the
Entirety of the city.
Instead of that one area?
Correct.
Just give me a sample. What kind of activity are we talking about? What kind of, is it just business projects if someone wants to come in? And
You can do, well, Jeff made reference to one of the mechanisms that could be utilized, that's called a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, where you could end up being able to use the Industrial Development Board as the actual entity that ends up being the mechanism by which that particular economic development tool is utilized. If you don't have that in place, you don't have that entity that can step up and serve that purpose. If you have an area where you want to create a specific jurisdiction of some sort for some sort of a economic development purpose, if you don't have the Industrial Development Board activated to do that, then the city council, by extension, would have to ultimately end up coming up with some other mechanism of doing it. And so what this does is gives us the ability to use an industrial development board. A parallel example for Caddo Parish was that it was their industrial development board that was utilized as the entity to purchase the old GM facility. Absent having that mechanism in place, then the parish would have had to create some other one through whatever the statutes would have been available to them. But because they have the Caddo Parish Industrial Development Board in place, they were able to do that. I think they also are the ones who own the Industrial Development Park up in far north Caddo Parish. That's owned and overseen by the Industrial Development Board. It gives you the means and mechanisms of using all those economic development tools without it being something that's being done directly and specifically by, in this case, the city of Shreveport or by the parish of Caddo.
Mr. Mayor,
including issuing debt.
I would hope that you would invite Councilman Sam Jenkins to the next meeting. And
absolutely.
Y'all give him a school.
I'm not sure if I want to come to that next meeting.
I'm going to be sure I invite Mr. Pesnell. Because I think Darren may have been right. It may have been the fried fish that we offered that set off the firestorm of controversy. So.
Well, I think it would be.
And Mr. Pesnell, like me, obviously enjoys a good meal.
Okay, very informative. Well, I mean, I guess you're basing that on his waist size. Then.
Well, now we both look like we know our way around.
Now, I'm not gonna comment on that, but please invite Mr. Sam Jenkins to the next meeting, and Sam, it would be quite informational for you.
I may take you up on that, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
7-0 vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, 7-0 vote. Okay, thank you, Darren.
All right, thank you, council members.
All right, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Darren.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, there are no resolutions to be introduced. We're down to introduction of ordinances. Number 67 67 amends the 2014 general fund budget. This budget's funds for 2 street sweepers. Number 68 amends and replaces ordinance number 106 of 2012. As indicated yesterday, this is in District A. It's a yield intersection to a stop intersection. Number 69 amends the 2014 capital improvements budget. This ordinance has $300,000 to the Port Lift Station Rehabilitation Project.
So move for introduction.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman McCullough, for these pieces of legislation to be introduced. They will lay over for 2 weeks. At that time, they may or may not be acted upon. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Introduction with the 7-0 vote. Thank you.
We're now under ordinances on second reading and final passage. Number 52 authorizes the mayor to execute a contract with Dr. David Clemens to grant access and permission to plant and maintain live oak trees on the east right-of-way of Cresswell Avenue.
What is the pleasure? It's been moved by Councilman Everson, Jenkins, and second by Councilman Corbin. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Legislation passes with a 7-0 vote. I'm sorry, Rose it? Okay.
Rose is out.
Right.
Number 53 amends the 2014 capital
Move to
improvements budget.
postpone to the next meeting.
Been moved to postpone by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Sam Jenkins. Please vote. 6-0 vote to postpone. One out of the chamber.
Number 61 amends the 2014 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Everson, second by Councilman Jenkins, that is Sam Jenkins. All in favor vote yes, opposed no.
Down to 5.
With a 6-0, I'm sorry, 5 vote, 2 out of the chamber, Mike out of the chamber.
We got a attrition problem right now.
I see that.
Number
Maybe
62
it's time.
repeals part of ordinance number 9 of 2007, which created a 4-way stop intersection at Danfield Court, Hemsdale Court, and Stonehaven Drive, and it enacts the intersection of Dansfield Court, Hemsdale's Court, and Stonehaven Drive as a 2-way stop intersection, and otherwise provides with respect thereto.
Been moved by Councilman Webb, second by Councilman Sam Jenkins. Let's vote, please. Was it 5, 6, 7-0 vote? Legislation passes. Please proceed.
7-0. Number 63 amends the 2014 general fund budget. This provides funds for the track team's budget.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, second by Jenkins and Everson. Any questions? No, both of y'all can.
Put everybody down for a second.
Exactly, we're all in support.
Yeah, everybody down for a second. All right, let's vote. Legislation passes with a 7-0 vote.
Number 64 authorizes the mayor to execute all necessary legal instruments to effect the exchange of certain immovable property owned by the city of Shreveport for certain immovable property owned by Louisiana CVS Pharmacy LLC. This needs to be postponed, and
Move to postpone by the chair.
Mr. Chairman, can we?
Yeah.
I think we may need to go back to 63
We
because I
missed the
believe there's an
amendment.
amendment, but maybe there isn't.
It is an amendment.
It is an amendment.
So it is an amendment of itself?
I didn't think there was an amendment.
There's an
It says
amendment
number-
attached, yeah.
And I don't know, I'm just,
What could the amendment be?
Some city court rehab.
Oh.
I assume it was attached because that was on there. I just looked at it, but city court is moving some money around to do some projects within their building. No additional fund, none from the city, but some internal movement. I
So
just looked
this
at
needs
the
to be
amendment.
reconsidered and to then consider the amendment?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
okay, and that's all I was asking before we, but you want a motion right now on 64 to postpone, right? 64 is.
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion on 64 to postpone, and then I'll make my motion to,
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Oliver Jenkins, postpone on 64. It's been second by Councilman Corbin. Let's vote. Legislation has been postponed.
Now I'll
with the
make,
7-0 vote.
I'll make a motion to reconsider ordinance 63, is what I
It's
believe.
been moved by Councilman Oliver Jenkins, second by Councilman Mike Carvin to reconsider 63.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, would you give me a hand vote, yes or no?
To reconsider? Okay.
yes, and.
7-0, is that correct? 7-0 vote to reconsider 63. All right, Councilman, we ready for your motion?
Motion to adopt the amendment.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amendment.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Oliver Jenkins to adopt the amendment. Okay, it's been seconded by Councilman Everson. Let's vote. The amendment has been adopted with the 7-0 vote.
Motion to approve as adopted.
Okay, motion to approve is adopted by Councilman Carvin, second by Everson. All in favor, vote yes, opposed is no. Legislation has been approved with the 7-0 vote as amended.
We didn't get a vote, Councilman Shine.
Huh?
That's the same, the previous vote.
No, this is,
We didn't get to, it wouldn't let us
The
in.
computer messed up.
wait a
So,
minute.
yes.
So it says 7-0?
7-0.
7-0 vote. All right, well, this train is moving.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Pleasure.
Number 65 amends the 2014 capital improvements budget. This is for an airfield directional guidance sign replacement.
So move.
Been
Second.
moved by Councilman Sam Jenkins, second by Councilman Oliver Jenkins. Any questions or discussion? If not, let's vote. Oh, okay, it's been legislation approved with the 7-0 hand vote.
Number 66 is an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the agreement and lease with MBI Global LLC. It's not to be adopted before July the 8th.
Second.
Been moved to postpone by Councilman Carvin, second by Councilman Everson. Hand vote, 7-0 postpone legislation. All right, Mr. Thompson?
I don't know of any item from the table that needs to be removed from the table and acted on. I believe
Anybody, any council member have anything to be moved from the table?
all of the property standards appeals that were due to be done and were done yesterday. The alcohol beverage ordinance appeals have all been done, and we've taken care of all of the MPC and ZBA appeals.
Mr. Thompson, we've gotten a lot done, yeah.
Quick request, EAC 3614 for next week's agenda. Can we make sure we have the postponement date attached to that one?
Yes.
I mean, I know we did it yesterday, and I'm not
July
saying
the 22nd.
to the 22nd of July, just so that for
Will that
anybody
be-
that looks at it,
Okay.
it's incorporated. Thank you.
Is that the one,
There will be two that day.
okay, that Mr. Greg Morrison is,
I don't think that's the same one.
I don't think it's that day.
BAC 3614 and BAC 4414.
yeah, right,
We heard on July the 22nd.
Greg, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't overlook you. It's very seldom we get you to come down to the council. I know you're very busy, but I just want you to come down to see Oliver Jenkins at work. Okay.
So we're now under reports from officers, boards, and committees.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we'll start with you. Do you?
Don't have anything from officers, boards?
I'll just briefly mention, in the next, possibly at the next city council meeting, we may invite the Historic Preservation Commission to come and give a report. They've been really moving forward with a lot of the goals that they set out and accomplishing quite a bit. Very proud of the work that they've done. One of their primary goals was to get the city designated as a certified local government. This is a designation given by the Department of the Interior that recognizes that your local ordinances are in line with state and federal policies regarding historic preservation. And Shreveport, for many years, has been the largest city in the state that does not have this designation. once you have the designation, it allows you to be eligible for funding from private foundations and the federal government. So it is something that could really be a valuable tool for our community. And in a bit of initial good news, I'll say that it has to clear the state and then it gets cleared by the federal government. The application has cleared the state and was very well received and should be headed towards the federal government now, and we may have a response from them before the end of the summer. So great work on that front, and they're doing a lot of other good work as well, so we may invite them here at the next meeting to give an update to the council.
Thank you. Any more correspondence from any boards or committees? If not, Mr. Thompson?
All of the items under clerk's report were discussed and/or taken care of yesterday
Okay,
and today.
Thompson, thank you. The council will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole.
So moved.
Is there a motion? It's been moved by Councilman Oliver Jenkins, second by Councilman Carvin. All in favor, vote yeah.
There's a
We
vote
vote now, yeah. Okay,
And I'll follow that motion up with an approval of the minutes.
okay. It's been moved by Councilman Jenkins. That's very nice. It's been seconded by Councilman Carvin for the approval of the minutes. All in favor, vote yes. Minutes approved with a 6-0, one out of the chamber. Mr. Mayor, I believe we're back with you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, again, thank all of the folks who came out early today for the comments offered in support of our efforts to address the Harrelson landfill situation. I want them to know that their concerns are being heard. I want to thank this council for their unanimous support of our efforts to communicate to the governor that we believe that there is a appropriate role for the state of Louisiana to play with regard to the proper oversight and regulation of this landfill, and that's one that we believe needs to be accepted and embraced and acted upon very quickly. Some 7+ pages of violations, some 20+ years of offense to the community. We believe that it's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed quickly. I'm not sure, were it not for the fact that this thing has been a smoldering mess for the last several months and off and on intermittently over the last couple of years, whether or not we would be at this point, but I'm glad that we finally are. And I want the folks to know that we are going to continue to carry this effort forward, and that they should look to hear, possibly as early as next week, for another occasion where we will invite the community to come together to be able to get updated in terms of where we are in this situation. Because this is one that we believe that the effort has got to be consistent and ongoing, and may need to elevate in terms of some of its intensity before it's all said and done. With that, I also want to say that I believe this is going to be the last meeting, as I expressed earlier, before the 4th of July. So for folks out there who are watching us today, I want to encourage them to come out and join with the city of Shreveport in celebrating our country's independence. We thank again George Servine and the folks at KTBS Channel 3 and the Ray family for partnering with us, creating a great example of a public-private partnership. This is an effort that the city of Shreveport used to fund almost entirely, but we've now been able to infuse and increase and elevate the level of civic and corporate sponsorship, and we believe that it's made it a bigger and better effort. Even better news is that this year will be the last year that we won't have the Red River Waterway funded improvements as a part of Riverview Park, and so the 2015 experience will be even better and greater than the 2014. With that, Mr. Chairman, turn it back over to you.
Mayor. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. I have one from the CEO.
What we want to do
With regard to solid waste.
Correct.
We also want to take this opportunity, and in fact, Mr. Chairman, I'll take yours and council staff direction. We may want to ask for the opportunity for you guys to give us this time right when we go back into regular order, because I think this is appropriately something that should be on the record, not a part of the committee as a whole, but it has to do with solid waste discussion.
You want Mr. Harris to start up this way?
Well, depending whether or not, at whatever point you all get ready to leave the committee as a whole.
Right, we're gonna do it and let him come back, not right now because we off the record, but just, he was so far in the back,
Getting closer.
Right, I'm gonna get a little closer. All right,
Mr. Shine, us heavy guys could take offense at that.
That's why I say he's so far in the back. All right, Rose.
Oh, well, I just wanted to again thank the many residents of District 8 for standing up in support of the issue with the landfill. The one thing I experienced, and I mean, I've kind of experienced this before, you know, we tend to have that pointing finger type attitude. Well, it's your fault, or you should have done this, or you should have done this. But my prayer was on last night is that, and I shared with other citizens, that everybody has a great idea. And my prayer was to allow those ideas to gel together so that we could be unified as one. And again, I want to commend District A for their representation here today. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Webb.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Councilman Everson.
I think I already made most of my comments. Thank you.
Councilman Carvey.
Thank you, Chairman Shine. Stan, you don't need to get up for this, but I am continuing to get calls of concern from residents who travel East Kings Highway back behind LSUS. As we are in baseball season, the unimproved parking lot and unimproved curb cut on East Kings Highway, right where it goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and we have the entrance to the Haven, and we're in a curve. There's a lot going on there, and I know there have been some minor accidents, but on nights where there are back-to-back baseball games, it's beginning to be a big problem, and we need to see any influence that we can have there, because you've got people coming almost to a stop to go over the curb and then immediately be on a gravel and dirt road, which has some pretty big holes in it. So unless you're in a big SUV, you're going about 1 mile an hour when you're turning off East Kings, and everybody else is going about 45 or 50.
And Mr. Harris, the mayor and I have a good friend who travels that way quite often, Mr. Archie Hall. And we wouldn't want anything to happen to him because I think he would try to sue the mayor personally. And I wouldn't want to see that happen. Okay. Yeah. Sam?
You bet the hospital get served with that one, Mr. Shine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brother Muhammad, I'm gonna actually step up here a minute. Marvin Muhammad. Brother Muhammad, can you step up here a minute? You forget your name?
Something great back there.
I wanted to just revisit the recent legislation we did about donations and solicitations at the intersection, so there would not be any confusion. And I'm going to ask council staff and Ms. Glass to hopefully send a email to SPD as well as to...
Councilman, not cutting you off, but you want to wait so we can get that on the record, because that might be pretty important. Will this be on the record?
We're still in committee of the whole?
Right.
It's not a part of the official records, no.
Well, Sam, you want them just wait about 2 minutes and we'll make it part of the official record, because what you're talking about is very important.
Okay, well, that'd be good.
Because we want...
We'll call you back up.
We want Marvin leaving here with an understanding. Okay. Al, do you have anything else you...
No, sir.
Okay. At this point, I'll accept a motion for us to move back into reconvene. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Come on up. Come on up. No, Sammy. Come on up, Sammy. Yeah, come on up, Sammy. You see, I got you right here, Sammy. I couldn't. Ron told me don't forget you.
I just don't want to be left out.
There you go.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport, Louisiana. Apartment M11071101. The reason I come back today is because of the situation that Jeff Everson was talking about that happened last night over at Oak Meadows. I woke up this morning about 5 a.m. to turn on to the news, and I find out again that gunshots have taken place over at the Oak Meadows Apartments, that somebody was shot and killed. I don't know the name of the person, but I'm very sick of this. I'm sick of it right now. And I want something done about this. We are going to have some policemen patrol over there on Centenary Boulevard and down into Oak Meadows in our driveway to see to it that this is stopped. These hooligans that are doing this are bothering me, even though I may not have been shot at, but they're probably bothering other people. They're getting on our nerves, and we're not going to stand for this. We won't. And I've been meaning to say this because I've been kind of keeping this in my mind about what I wanted to say too. We will not have Oak Meadows turn into a reenactment of the Civil War. Now, I mean that too. I didn't say I wish it wouldn't, or I don't want. I said I will not. We won't. I'm not asking for apologies or anything like that, but I am demanding that we have a little privacy instead of all these gunshots. Now, I'm a little bit torn inside when we get these gunshots and these hooligans that come over and bother us for no reason. We don't deserve this. Now, I think people usually try to be fair when they try to get something done, but you can just push a person so far when they're trying to be fair that they wind up being nothing. Now, I can take sides. I know that Oak Meadows is a good place to live at, and I've been there for almost 19 years, and by July 15th, it will be 19 years that I've been living there. And I'm not going to stand for anyone doing this and trying to run other people off out of their apartments. I'm going to stay where I'm at. It's just recently where I was dealing with, they said that a lot of people have had to put freezes on other people wanting to just move around so much. Well, I'm staying, and they're not going to run me out of my home, and I'm not going to let these people do that. Now, I'm just not going to.
Dale, did you hear that?
And
all right.
I've been there, Cedric and Dale, for almost 19 years, and I'm going to stay put. I'm not going to let anyone tell me otherwise. If they want me to move, they'll just have to convince me otherwise. That's not the way. I like my home, and I'm sure other people like their homes. The people love their homes over there at Oak Meadows. We just want to be left alone. And if I sound feisty or something like that, maybe I learned from Joyce Bowman. But the fact of the matter is that I know where I'm happy at, and I'm not going to let these hooligans run me off or anybody else. That's their own decision. But my decision is I've been where I'm at. I'm going to stay there. And a message goes out to you people who are doing this. Leave us alone. Thank you.
All right. The chair moves that we would reconvene in our regular council meeting. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilman McCullough. Let's vote. Okay, 7-0 vote that we would reconvene back into our regular meeting now. Mr. Sam Jenkins, Marvin. See, I know how to call Marvin. Marvin.
So you came first time on yours, huh?
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to revisit the recent legislation we did on the solicitations by charitable organizations at the intersections. And I just want to make sure there's no confusion on what I believe the intent of the council to have been. It's solicitation on streets that do not exceed 35 miles per hour. Where you have a street that's 35 miles per hour and it intersects with a street, say for instance, that's 40 miles per hour, the group can carry on the activities on the 35 mile per hour street, and not carry them on the 40 mile per hour street. Now, if a 35 mile per hour street should intersect with a prohibited street, which we list out in the ordinance, then you have to be 300 feet back from the intersection completely to carry on any activities. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask the council staff, I'm asking Ms. Glass, please circulate an email to that extent, because I believe that's what we passed, and I believe if you look at the ordinance, that's what's there. It doesn't say that simply because a 35 intersect with a 40 that the entire intersection is closed down. That is not what the ordinance says. It's not there in writing, it's not even implied. It's 35-mile-per-hour street where you can carry on the activity. If it crosses with a 40, you can still carry on the activity on the 35. And what I told some of the groups to do was maybe to go out and identify some of the intersections that basically remain now that, you know, it's a lot of the intersections they were working at, they cannot work at all anymore. So go out and identify some of those so that there could be, you know, some specification about where you are and where you're working at. So I don't know if there's been some experiences between getting your approvals and carried on your activities, because maybe there was some gray area here with it, but I wanted to take it up today to make sure that maybe we're all on the same page, both from the activities and from the enforcement standpoint. That you're not shutting down an intersection simply because it crosses a 40. It should be allowed, because if you take that away, there are not going to be any more intersections. That's just a practical matter. But you can still work the 35-mile-per-hour roadway that intersects into that 40-mile-per-hour street. You can't work the 40-mile-per-hour roadway. So I hope I'm making sense of it, because I believe that's really what, if you read the ordinance after what we amended and what we did, that's really what's there. That's literally what's written there. You're not prohibited by the fact that it intersects at 40 miles per hour, okay? So I just want to kind of revisit it, bring it back out, and hopefully clear the air both from the activity standpoint and enforcement standpoint. And I'm going to ask that an email be sent around and circulated so everybody can hopefully be on the same page going forward, okay?
Ask, I'll circulate the email to management in the police department. Was there anybody in particular in the police department you dealt with that we want to include?
Well, I spoke with Assistant Chief Wayne Smith.
Okay.
And he informed me personally that they had issues of being able to enforce that portion of the ordinance, and because you actually have to insert the intersections that you want to work on the permit application, then they denied the application based on that submission. For instance, Linwood and Hollywood and Jewella, Lakeshore and Portland, Jewella and Lakeshore. They're saying no based on because one is 35 and the other one is 40.
We need to make sure that we and the police department are on the same page about that, and we'll do that.
All right? Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Chairman, are we?
No, I'm finished. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good.
Okay, while I was here, Chairman Shine, I did want to take this opportunity on behalf of Star Cemetery and Muhammad Salam and the Star Cemetery Preservation Society to, although there was some confusion with the because of the redistricting, whether or not what Councilman Jeff Everson or whether Councilman Sam Jenkins, but they both worked diligently also along with Spar and Shelley. So we appreciate getting Spar over there and doing a major and much needed cleanup. As I spoke with the CAO of the city, we are going to be trying to put energy back into their 501c3 to Star Cemetery Preservation Society, try to get some more energy, trying to build up the membership, and also try to pool some funds together from the private sector. However, with that being said, we will be seeking some assistance from the city to help us try to close the gap between some very major problems out at Star Cemetery.
We appreciate you bringing attention to such an important landmark in our city. You know, for those who may not be familiar with Star, it is a source of some great history for our, you know, some people who are buried there are very important parts of our history, and along with Oakland and some of our other historical cemeteries, it really can help to tell the story of our past, which isn't always a bright story, but it's one that has its great figures that we can learn from and really celebrate. And so we appreciate y'all being out there and drawing some great attention to what is sometimes an overlooked jewel. So.
Let me join in on those sentiments that the councilman has given. I think you got people buried there that dates back to maybe the Civil War.
Indeed, you do. Indeed, you do.
I don't know if everybody know where Star is located. Right, it's right at the entrance into the graveyard, the cemetery actually. It's right next to the main post office on Texas Avenue. If you know where that's at, now the one that you will visibly see really, I think, is St. Joseph's.
Indeed.
But you got to actually go down the roadway, and you'll get back to where Star is at. And I tell you, I've had an opportunity to go through several times, and it's definitely, as you said, Councilman Everson, a historic jewel in our city. And if you look at some of the headstones and the dates that are on some of those headstones, then I believe that the society is putting out some information, some of the historical information about some of the people who were buried there over the years. So it is something, if you have a little time, it's not that large, it's not that big. You can kind of see it from the interstate. But it may sound a little strange, but you may just want to do a little walkthrough because of its historical significance. So once again, let me join with Councilman Everson in congratulating you all and the Star Cemetery Preservation Society for working out there. Thanks so much to SPAR and everybody for what they're doing to try to help out and improve the conditions out there. So, and Public Works for what they're doing to try to help and improve the conditions out there at the cemetery.
Marvin, I appreciate what you're doing, and I mean, no harm is meant, but I try to stay away from things like that as much as I can.
Well, Muhammad Salam, he might. I hope he's not watching this, but he's getting a little up there. And myself and some other younger brothers in the community, we're gonna be joining on to Star Cemetery Preservation Society, and we're actually waiting for the paperwork right now to come back from the Secretary of State. So we will be back down asking for for the city to look to help any way that it might possibly can in in-kind services, and of course direct appropriations as well. And I do want to say this before I sit down, and this was on the earlier matter that we were dealing with the Harrison landfill. I know the mayor, because of his very unique position of being the CEO of the city of Shreveport, he cannot endorse other activities publicly anyway. But we will have some activity at that location at 1101 Russell Road as soon as that 15-day shutdown that DEQ established. That will be without permit, and because our goal is to get state and federal attention one way or the other. So we will be doing that, and if necessary, we will be exposing a long list of what we believe of unfair treatment and the mechanism that caused that.
Please do. If I have to change my name, I'm gonna be there with you.
Well, don't change your name. Don't change your name. You haven't done it all these years.
All right.
Don't change your name.
Thank you, Marvin. Okay. This meeting's adjourned, and I appreciate you.
The mayor's
Stan.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Stan the man. Stan the man.
Stan, I'm sorry.
Solid Waste update.
Yeah, I'm
Chairman.
sorry.
Councilman Shine, council members, you all know that there are some changes coming. There's some notices that are going out in the water bills. There have been some news stories that you all have seen, and we want to make sure that you all are fully aware of exactly what is transpiring and be in a position to have an effective, informed response to your constituents when it happens. So with that, Stan?
And Stan, you may just want to share the difference in what these are being used for.
Right. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Stan Harris, Public Works. What I really wanted to do is just share with you what we've done in order to try to get the information out to the public so that they know what's going on. Briefly, on June the 13th, We did a press release from our communications office that went out to all of the news media, radio, TV, newspapers, and basically explaining to them what it is that, what the changes are associated with the ordinance and discussion about the new bulk program and how it works. We've had responses back from several of the news media as well as other entities, radio stations. We've had some airtime. You may have seen something on the news media already yourselves. And then also, beginning on June the 12th, there's a flyer that we had inserted in the water bills. And this will basically touch every household in Shreveport. And the flyer basically talks about the changes. It gives bullet points on one side, all the specific changes associated with the ordinance. And then on the opposite side, it talks about the bulk program itself and how you could go about making an appointment. And so these will be going out probably by this Thursday. Half the households in Shreveport would have been notified already. And they'll be sent out before the July 14th date actually hits for the rest. Then also, we are proposing to put an ad in the Shreveport Times, basically also providing that same information just in case someone misses that. And then for those residences that where the backdoor garbage is going to be discontinued for single-family homes for a fee, we're actually putting the door hangers. Those will be placed out tomorrow, actually. We've actually got some calls from some of the residents already inquiring about the questions and things like that and how the system works. But this will be placed on Wednesday, tomorrow, at all of those houses, roughly about 600 of those. And then we'll just, I think as we get closer to that time, I think more of the news media will probably get involved. I gave an interview actually this morning to one of the TV stations. So just wanted to share with you exactly what we were doing and our efforts to get the information out. Be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I do think, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions, but I do think this is great. Get the information out and educate the public. You are correct. I think there has been some discussions in the media already, so I think it had, some people have some concept of what would be involved. I know I spent time in my district at a number of the community meetings telling them that, some information would be forthcoming. So it's good to just have something actually going into the homes where they can know and be educated on what the changes are. I do think that these are some good changes. I think we're going to see a lot of improvement to the condition of our communities throughout the city. Asking citizens to be patient with this and to work with it because it's really direct response to a lot of the concerns that they raise. The condition of trash and evictions and all these different things that go on in the neighborhood that become eyesores. And so hopefully that they will cooperate and be patient, work with the program, give it a chance to work, be supportive of it. And I just do believe in the very near future we'll see some fruit from all of this. So I thank you and Dr. Public Works Department, Solid Waste Division, and administration, as well as the council and those of us who have been laboring for a very long time, so to speak, to try to get something in place that we can enforce and that we can do to improve solid waste collection in the city of Shreveport. I really do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Stan.
Okay.
Stan, appreciate it. Sibley and you and the mayor, I appreciate y'all having coming up and this meeting's adjourned. All right.
Second time.
Yeah, second time.